Hello, Gorilla Biscuits. Good luck at Arby's. Hope everything's fine. Huh. I'm gonna be doing a little bit of testings. I have like 5 minutes. I just want to be sure that my camera and everything is fine. So if it's moving like back and forth, it's fine. It is what it is. How am I doing? I am okay. I'm just I'm fine, I'm fine. Just need to calm down. That's better. It's just less. Okay. So the debate is gonna be at speakeasies. It's gonna be a good debate, I hope. I have my what I need when it comes to the debate itself. Um Obviously that doesn't mean much. Um like you can prepare what you want for a debate, but at the end of the day is what you do during the debate. I'm gonna go there, have a good time. Hopefully everything goes well for everybody involved and we can have a good debate in general. You guys hear me fine, right? Just be sure. Yeah, you should hear me fine. Okay. Well, let's do it, boys. It is what it is. Not getting any younger. Uh, I'm like, okay, it's perfect. Just gonna go with Emmett. And we're in the back. All right. I have to do it. You okay too? Just gonna mute myself on that side. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's doing fine. Thank you for the 2 likes. Thank you everyone who's watching. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and have debate today. It's gonna be an interesting debate. I hope everybody's happy with it. I think my argument is really good, but you never know, right? You never know what you're gonna get hit with. So it's it is what it is. Let's hope everything goes perfectly fine and we end up victorious and everything is great. Um, I should have moved this way, like this, instead. But no, nah, it's fine. fine like this. What up? Should be good now. Hmm. Doing just fine. How about you guys? Yeah, we good. I'm good. Mhm. Okay, sounds good.
Information shared in these conversations and videos are intended for general knowledge and entertainment purposes only. It should not be considered as legal advice or professional guidance. Additionally, any documentation or references to specific content are solely for the purpose of discussion and understanding. It does not imply endorsement, promotion, or support of said content. The views expressed in these videos and or conversation are those of the individuals involved and do not represent any official stance or opinion. The content you are about to experience may contain strong language, including explicit words and phrases. This language is used for artistic expression and may be integral to the storyline or character development. It is important to note that the use of such language does not endorse or promote offensive behavior. Viewer discretion is advised, and please. What? Warning. The information shared in these conversations and videos are intended for general knowledge and entertainment purposes only. It should not be considered as legal advice or professional guidance. Additionally, any documentation or references to specific content are solely for the purpose of discussion and understanding. It does not imply endorsement, promotion, or support of said content. The views expressed in these videos and or conversation are those of the individuals involved and do not represent any official stance or opinion. The content you are about to experience may contain strong language, including explicit words and phrases. This language is used for artistic expression and may be integral to the storyline or character development. It is important to note that the use of such language does not endorse or promote offensive behavior. Viewer discretion is advised, and please enjoy the show responsibly. Disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. The Canadian Copyright Act, Section 29, allows an individual to use copyright protected materials when creating a new work, such as a mashup, and to post the new work online on a site like YouTube. Fair dealing provision for specific purposes like research, private study, education, parody, satire, criticism, review, and news reporting.
Step up, step up. Yeah, we pledge. We pledge. We pledge. We pledge. Yeah. in the arena, mind locked and loaded. Truth on my blade, every line's exploded. You swing your words, I counter with precision. Battle of reason, this is my mission. Raise your fist, let them know. No. Raise your voice, let it blow. Woo! We clash our swords of reason. Cut through like no retreating. No fear, no chain, no treason. We clash our swords of reason. We clash our swords of reason. Cut through like no retreating. No fear, no chain, no treason. We clash our swords of reason. Step back, I'm a scholar and a fighter. Every claim you throw, I strike tighter. Logic and power, I never fold. In the war of words, I'm solid gold. Raise your fist, let them know. Whoa. Raise your voice, let it blow. Woo. We clash our swords of reason. Cut through like no retreating. No fear, no chain, no treason. We clash our swords of reason. We clash our swords of reason. Cut through like no retreating. No fear, no chain, no treason. We clash our swords of reason. Every thought a fortress, every claim a storm. We forge a truth where chaos takes form. Ideas ignite like lightning through the night. In the war of minds, we bring the light. Step in, feel the heat. Truth is my weapon, never beat. Raise them high, break the ceiling. With a fire, with a feeling. We clash our swords of reason. Cut through lies, no retreating. No fear, no chain, no treason. We clash our swords of reason. We clash our swords of reason. Cut through lies, no retreating. No fear, no chain, no treason. We clash our swords of reason. We clash our swords of reason. Cut through lies, no retreating. No fear, no chain, no treason. We clash our swords of reason.
Welcome, everybody, to Swords of Reason right here on the Speakeasy Show. And this is where logic meets passion. If you're new here, the format's simple but intense. Okay, each debater gets 10 minutes for an opening statement, followed by 5-minute uninterrupted rebuttals. Then we open the floor for a full hour of a raw, unfiltered debate before wrapping it up with a 5-minute closing statement from each side. After that, we'll spend a 30 minutes answering your questions from the chat. I'll have a live Q&A up, but super chats do get priority, and there's only a 30-minute window for this. So if you want to make sure your questions get answered, get those super chats in. And once the formal debate is done, we open the doors to the community for a chaos and chill panel. The debaters do not have to stay for this part, but this is where anyone can hop in, challenge the questions they heard or things that the debaters argued tonight. And tonight's debate prompt is, should the death penalty exist? And with today's debaters, for the affirmative, we have Emmett, who has a channel right here on YouTube where he focuses on gaming, politics, hot topic discussions, art, and forced karaoke, where you can pay him to sing any song of your choosing. So get over there and pay him some money to sing some good music. All right. And for the negative, we have Tareyak, an aspiring professional memester who also has a channel here on YouTube, where he focuses on topics like philosophy, politics, memes, and also hot topic discussions. So that being said, debaters, you know the rules. For Emmett, you are on the affirmative side, so we're going to let you start with opening statements. After you start talking, I will start the timer up. And again, thank you both for being here. And chatters, if you want to go sub up to both of them, they're both in the descriptions. And whenever you want to start, Emmett, go ahead. I'll start the timer up with you.
Thanks. Thanks so much, Easy, for the opportunity of having the debate. Thank you, Tareyak. Thank you, the audience, for being here. I will say something to start with. It has nothing to do with the debate real quick. If or whoever gives the highest dono to Easy on this occasion will get a free animated pixel art by me. I will ask you, Easy, to let me know who is it, and if they can say what they want, I can go ahead and produce it and get it over in the next few days. I've done this for Rob, and so far it's been really, really fun. So you got that going. I'm gonna start now with my opening statement. Um, so what I would say, as if it shouldn't exist or not, well, the death penalty has to be part of the duty of the state. This is because, like we know, we're not humanists here. We believe that men are not good. We believe that atheists actually believe that they are like violent monkeys fighting for who has power, and the Christians believe that we're fallen creatures. And we are trying to integrate ourselves to our ethical framework. I'm not gonna mention any of the other systems because they're completely irrelevant in this case, and they are completely irrelevant most of the time. So, what this means is that we are capable of great acts of sin and violence, and the government, whose primarily function is to provide justice, has to be able to carry out all the way to its last consequences. Would be the death of the person who is doing those sin or acts of violence or unjustified actions. I will ask easy if possible. I will want to present the screen. I have two formal arguments. This is just so that Tareyak can reference them and have them present.
Yeah, no
This
problem.
is, give me just 1 second to put them up. I will go ahead and say first the arguments, then I will go ahead and through all of the premises and just give my conclusions through them, and I believe that will be the end of my opening statement. So the first one is it's an argument for the duty of the state, and then we have four premises. First one is the government has the jurisdiction of the people that it's under the territory. The second is the government's duty is to enact the will of the citizens over the population. Third one is the government duty extends all the way to killing those under its jurisdiction. And by extension, the government has the duty to enact justice all the way to death. If the state is unwilling to enact justice all the way to death of the perpetrator, we are witnessing dereliction of duty by the part of the state, so it will not be complying with its duty. And the second one is a non-corrupt government acts in accordance. A non-corrupt government acts in accordance to its duties. The duty of the government is to enact justice. Dereliction of duty causes corruption. Actions like not enacting justice corrupt the state or the actions of the state of government. So, real quick, I'm going to go through the premises. First one is the jurisdiction is given to the state to have power over the people. Otherwise, the state is unable to do its basic duties. If you don't have jurisdiction over the people, you cannot perform any kind of force to those people. Jurisdiction of the state will be an anarchist state. I don't think any of us want to live in anarchist, and this will be a pure force doctrine. That who is stronger would rule, but oddly enough, that who is stronger will also be able to choose who lives and dies. That's the whole point of anarchism. The duty of the government, the second premise, is the duty of the government as stated by different branches of philosophy, especially both in classical Greek philosophy and Christian ethics, entails that the government has a duty to enact justice. This means enforcing the laws. In this case, I will use the American system. In America, the laws are described as the will of the people, thus, the government must enforce said laws. The third premise is the government must have the capacity to use force all the way to the ultimate consequence, which for those under their jurisdiction is death. Force under enforcement has to come up with the points of death if need be. We can see it all through history. Now, this is not a moral claim, this is a statement of fact. It's just an is claim. And it's still true. Like, if you resist the government, you will be met by force, all the way to death if it needs be. During the debate, I have a couple of examples, we can go through them. And then the logical extension is justice is part of the duty of the government. It has to extend all the way to the point of death of the perpetrator. It's part of the duty of the state. And this is especially in cases where the actions are considered to be of such severity or it goes against the capacity of the government to perform its duties. So the conclusion of this is that if it's not performed all the way through to death, like if you don't follow the premises, there will be a dereliction of duty by the state, and we will be seeing the state not complying to what it's supposed to do. Now, the second argument is a compounding argument. What it's trying to do is build upon the first one, and the idea is to give to help the first argument in cases where the first argument might not be on its own compliant or good enough. And the premise is simple: the government has to act and run in accordance to its duty. Not doing so will corrupt the system. As in before, justice is the second premise would be the justice is the duty of the government, and it has the responsibility to do justice. The third is justice must be dealt. Not doing so will be corruption and will create a corrupt state. The debate is thus that it's the proper role and duty of the state throughout the ages, even in minarchy societies and libertarian circles. We see that the point of the state is given to be able to perform these duties. They want to be able to have the force doctrine enacted in a just way, and this has to do with the will of the people, at least in the United States. It has to do with the sovereignty. It has to have sovereignty over the life of the citizens. Otherwise, it is unbound and it cannot do its proper role. Now, I will finish this with a couple of statements. Denying the role of state when it comes to its capacity of enforcement, it's just a corrupting force. It affects can be seen in time when we see these kind of things. This is created mostly because of toxic empathy. And in fact, even in the US, we can see its effect has been rippled all throughout society. Is it the only corrupting force? No, but it's an effect that is corrupting the government. And us as citizens would like to have the least amount of corruption in our government. With this, I will yield the rest of my time, and thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for that, Emmett. Still had a couple minutes there left. And with that, we'll hand it over to Tareyak for your 10-minute opening statement. Whenever you're ready, Tareyak, I will start the timer up with your voice. And again, thank you both for being here in chat. If you want to find the debaters, go to the description and make sure you sub up to both of them. And yeah, go ahead, Tareyak, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, you can start off whenever. Like I'm. This is kind of like a very kind of like simple argument because, like I was saying to my chat, like I made a couple of predictions beforehand on my stream, saying it's like you could do this, and then you could, and one of them was the moral argument. And if he wants to kind of deep dive and turn into a moral rather than just do straight up death penalty, that's perfectly fine with me, baby. Because as easy and probably most of the chat would know, it's like this is a common topic on VK. So like I could wake up from a drunken stupor and still be able to give a decent argument at least. For this. So first of all, in terms of like why I'm against the death penalty is because I hold the belief that human life is sacred. And in terms of like that aspect, that means you necessarily have to buy a lot of uncomfortable bullets. Same way as if you're pro free speech, pro freedom, etc., etc. So in terms of to counter Emmett's proposed things of the morality, firstly, the argument of corruption. Like anyone would concede that even regardless of corruption, an innocent life would be taken by the state. And the more loosely you have the rules or like the or like the basically the guidelines to execute the death penalty, whatever criteria gets matched, the looser you have that, it becomes a when the state executes an innocent person. And regardless of corruption, because we are humans and humans are prone to mistake. So there will be a thing of like where the evidence doesn't come out in time and it looks like he's guilty, but then like the week or a month after he gets executed, it turns out like the DNA evidence actually would have cleared him. And the state is now executing an innocent person. So in terms of like this aspect of justice, how is that justice, Emmett? You know what I mean? And like I said, in terms of the way it currently stands, it's more expensive to execute someone at the moment than it is to just lock them up for the rest of their life. And when you look at the state's duty, it's not to enforce, it's to neutralize threats. So when we neutralize that threat out of society, the state has done its job. Then say we have to execute that person. That's where we get to your second argument of the argument of duty. I reject that notion that the state executing someone is ever a just cause. That's not justice. Also, if we're to take your logical conclusion that the state has the ability to enact such justice because this would be morally right, you would necessarily have to say then the state has to be capable of enacting abortions, because in the state of rape or incest, that's a birth that should not have happened. Ergo, the state should be able to enact abortions. It's the same logical conclusion here. So in terms of the worldview that we all know Emmett holds, this would be a contradictory worldview that he holds. So this is why, like I said, it's kind of like a simple or kind of like a short kind of opening. I don't need too long to get into it because more so in the back and forth to kind of develop on it as well. But other than that, I yield the rest of my time and yeah, open. I just want to say as well, thank you to Easy and for hosting as well to Emmett and then also hail Prometheus.
All right. Thank you for that, Tareyak. And with that, we're going to move over to the 5-minute uninterrupted rebuttals. So we're going to give the mic back to Emmett. And again, Emmett, whenever you're ready, I'll start the timer up with your voice.
Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna start with the first part of this. This will be like the idea of the sacred life being sacred. Life is sacred when it comes to how an individual will look at it. There's a difference between the individual and the state. There is a conflation usually when it comes to ethics, and this comes with a lot of different people. That the state has the same kind of uh, moral imperatives as the individual, but the state is not under those kind of restrictions. We can actually see these, especially when you see Christianity, that the state is given jurisdiction over the people, and they are said. It is actually said that they are there to enact justice over the population. So you have to be able to understand that the state has that right in order to be able to do it. When it comes to the execution of an innocent person, I understand this claim, but it will be the same as if you have an accident on a power plant. The option would be, well, let's close the power plant and nobody gets power anymore. Or you can go ahead and do whatever is necessary to ensure that the person that is being actually put in jail and executed in this case is actually guilty. In fact, the person that is going to be there doing all of the different processes it has a way higher moral duty now that the life of the person is actually in their hands, that if they think that they can just commit a mistake and fix it up later, which is something that we see, especially now. We see the election of duty. We see that there is a disregard of actions, of just actions, and they can just go ahead and pretend that it doesn't really matter. When it comes to abortion, again, you're talking about an innocent life. So when we're talking about the executions, we're not talking about innocent people. These are people that go, and I agree that they should go through to a specific process in which they are presented as innocent until they're proven to be guilty. And in the case is that they have committed such a grave act, for example, that they have deleted a baby, then in that case, it would be absolutely required for that person to stop being part of society. You think I don't know how expensive is a bullet, but I think it will be way less expensive than 40, 50 years in any kind of jail system. And at the end of the day, the point is not even how much is the economic ramification of it, because we're not talking about the economy. We're talking about the duty of the state. We're talking about the moral claim of the state and what it should be doing in order for us to have a society that is not only not corrupt, but it's willing to go all the way when it comes to setting up the rules and the standards for the people to have a proper and a good society. So thank you so much. Easy.
All right. Thank you for that, Emmett. And with that, we're going to hand the mic back over to Tareyak for your 5-minute uninterrupted rebuttal. And again, whenever you're ready, we'll start the timer up with your voice.
This is that moment in the duel. If anyone ever watched like Yu-Gi-Oh, the moment of the duel where like Yu-Gi like throws up the trap card because Emmett just fell into one of my traps. Since he mentioned Christianity, if there wasn't a death penalty, Jesus wouldn't have been crucified, correct?
Yeah, he wouldn't be crucified.
Oh shit! Sorry, this is my 5-minute. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. So like in terms of like like Jesus wouldn't have been crucified in terms of the if there wasn't death penalty. So again, like this aspect of like Emmett saying like this is a just thing for the state to do to enact the death penalty. It goes against the even proclaimed morals that he's saying in terms of the ethics, because like for example in if this system is like okay, like we just pay for the bullet and we don't need any of the legal representation, you're basically saying that it's like you're perfectly fine with the state executing innocent people. Like you have to explain how that's justice. Like I can see I yield the rest of my time.
All right, nice and quick. So that wraps up the uninterrupted rebuttals. So this is where we're going to get into the hour of open floor where the debaters can cross-examine each other. Just a reminder for the chat, I am going to get the live Q&A in there for you guys right now. Okay, so ask the debaters a question is what it says. If you want to ask them a question, we have a 30-minute Q&A after the debate, so make sure you get your questions in there, but super chatted questions or comments will be prioritized, and there's only a 30-minute window for this. So if you want to make sure your questions get read, get it in via super chat. All right. So let me get the timer up here for you guys. And another reminder, chat, go to the description of the video, the live stream here, and sub up to both debaters. I believe both of you are streaming right now, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, okay. So they're both streaming right now as well. So go over to their streams, give them a like, give them a sub, send them some money. All right, show support for everybody showing up. I want to thank you both for showing up. And remember, I'm only going to be here if they start yelling over each other and you guys can't hear them. I'll remind them that's what's happening, okay? Or if we get way off topic, which I don't think is going to happen. But other than that, you're not going to hear from me probably, okay? You know, I predict I won't have to step in very much, okay? But good luck to both of you guys. And whenever one of yous want to start talking or open it up, I'll start the timer up with you guys.
Yeah, so that that explanation of like why is it justice to execute innocent people?
You're presupposing that they're innocent, right?
Yeah, but you're saying you're perfectly fine with just like, okay, like whatever the price of a bullet is, just execute them.
Yeah, I'm,
You know what I mean?
I'm perfectly
because-
fine to executing the people that have committed a crime that is so heinous that it's
Yeah.
not possible to integrate them back into society, or that they're going in a way that will destroy the function of the state. And I think you are the same way. You don't think there will be any problem if you see like for example, a terrorist and they're gonna do 9/11 and they get caught and they get neutralized, to use a word that you would use, before they can even do the plan. I don't see you will have any problem with it.
Sorry, I was changing my headphones there, but like the main premise of what I'm saying is that when you're talking about the law, there's a lot of situations where, for example, like there could be DNA evidence on it that like it looks like this dude is guilty. You know what I mean? And when you're talking about behaviors and all this stuff, like erratic, kind of like borderline violent, all this kind of stuff, if you were being accused of something you didn't do, you would be in that state. Do you know what I mean? So in terms of like what I'm saying is like because humans are capable of mistakes, we're not perfect. We will inevitably end up making a mistake, which means the state will end up making a mistake and an innocent person will get executed,
Yeah,
rather than giving them the max amount of time till the end of their life so they could be exonerated and possibly get some sort of freedom back.
So I don't know if you ever seen a turbine in one of the power plants, but most of them are huge, and there's been a lot of accidents where the turbine just goes on and kills a person, like it drops on top of them. In your prerogative, what we should do is just close the power plant, or should we have another kind of safety method? So we should put some kind of safety net so that that doesn't happen. What do you think will be the option in that case?
We would have safety nets, but we like the safety nets in that, like to continue to drop from that hypothetical back to the death penalty is like those safety nets is the price tag where it's costing them like I think in some cases like up to like 4 billion more.
The safety net is
California spends 4 billion more.
The safety net is to try to ensure that the person is guilty, and that will be that we have the insurance of this person actually commit the heinous act, and then we can go ahead and enact justice upon that person. Otherwise, what we're doing is electing of the duty of the state to get rid of those people, and there's no way around it.
Yeah. But like you're saying, the only option is the death penalty in this state situation to get rid of those people. But this is when we go to the thing of like you saying that like in order to keep peace, death is part of that peace. What I'm saying is no, you're looking at it a different way. It's just about neutralizing the threat.
No,
Once the
it's
threat is
death.
neutralized, once the threat is neutralized in any situation, there is peace. It's a peaceful situation.
Well, neutralize is another way of saying killing as well, because a lot of times when you neutralize a threat, that means that you go up and blow it up, for example.
Like if the situation is where it's your life is now in question versus that's a different situation. That's self-defense.
What would
That's
be the
not
difference?
that's not the state. Yeah, the difference is that this is like they have the trial, like this is like week-long trials and all this kind of stuff. So like the threat has already been neutralized by the state of that situation. If you
No.
can get this person to sit down in a courtroom with other people, public people in the place, and it's a quote unquote peaceful or safe environment for them, the threat has already been neutralized. So like this whole thing of like you saying
Yeah, but
it's
you're
then
talking
justified
about
for then the state to execute this dude. That's an
you're
additional layer to it.
you're talking about the threat. I'm talking about justice, right? You're saying, oh, this threat is no longer a threat, but
Yes,
it can. First off,
neutralizing
it
the threat
can
is
be a threat.
justice.
No, that's not true. There are a
You
lot of
you
things
just
that
agreed.
there's a lot of things that can be just that has nothing to do with threat. If you're going, for example, if I have a contract and I fulfill my contract, that is just. There was no threat there. Would you say that that is just?
Fulfilling a contract?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Was there a threat there?
No.
Okay. So we're talking about
Unless it was
something that
a
has nothing to
contract,
no, it's justice
a
does
killing
not
contract.
necessarily do
Mhm.
have with the threat. In this case, it has to do with proper retribution, for
Yeah.
example, in some cases. And when you have a person that has done something so heinous that it deserves the death, what you're doing is actually giving them a mercy. You're giving them the mercy of death, and you're giving everybody, including the people that have been their victims, the mercy of their death. So that would be the just thing to do.
No, because again, in terms of like the main job of the police is to
This is not a
like
police
to
job.
keep the peace.
Yeah, this is not the police
Yeah,
job.
but like they represent quote unquote justice.
No,
They're the enforcement mechanism of justice.
there's a completely different branch of the government that is dedicated to justice, and is the
I'm not
justice
talking about
system.
government. I'm not talking about government.
We're talking
I'm
about
not talking about
government.
government. I'm just talking about justice
100% about
as a
government.
concept. Yeah, the reason why we have police is for justice, correct?
No, it's for enforcement. Enforcement
Yes,
of law.
of yes, which
Yeah.
is the
It
rules of
would be.
justice, correct?
It can be just, but it
Yes,
does not
that's what I'm
necessarily
saying.
that it's
Yeah.
just. But it can
Yes,
be.
but like this is where we get back to in your proposed system, you're
Mhm.
perfectly willing and you're saying that it's justice to execute innocent people, whereas I'm saying it's
No.
not
It's justice to
innocent people.
execute guilty people.
It's
right?
no.
Yeah.
I reject that premise.
I
reject that
I
presupposition.
reject the presupposition that they're innocent. Why would you say that they're innocent?
Yes. So because
If-
you're the affirmative, you're the one that's making the claim.
Yeah, I understand
You're the one
that,
that's
but
saying
you
that
are
this is the duty of
presupposing
the
that they're
government. I'm saying
innocent,
this
and
is not.
you haven't given me any reason to believe that the people
No,
that I'm talking about are innocent.
Yeah, because the situation I'm saying is that like because we're prone to make mistakes,
Mhm.
it no longer becomes an if, it becomes a when. Throughout time, that eventually there will be an innocent
Yeah.
person, there will be innocent blood spilled, and you're perfectly fine with that.
I'm perfectly fine with the duty of the state being fulfilled, because that is the duty. And if in case we have any kind of error, we have to
Yeah, but
I
why
go
is it the
ahead and
duty?
make
Why
the
is it the
rail
duty of the
guard so
state?
that we don't have that error in the future. The other way around is just saying, oh well, we can't do this anymore, so we're gonna act in accordance
Mhm.
to we're gonna derelict our duty instead. We're not gonna act in accordance
No.
to what we should do.
You're presupposing that that's the duty of the state. I
It is
reject
the
that
duty of the
presupposition.
state. What do you think is the duty
Yeah,
of the
but you're just
state
saying
then?
it is.
Well, it is.
Yeah,
Justice
enact
is the duty of a
to enact,
state.
yeah, to enact the justice. And like
Okay.
we said, in terms of just, like you're like taking innocent life is not justice, correct?
It's not innocent. We're talking about
Yeah.
guilty people.
So in terms of neutralizing the threat, like that is something that we can do. Correct?
Well, what is the threat of an innocent person? Because you're totally
An innocent
fine
person- yeah,
neutralizing the threat of an innocent person, right?
The threat to the innocent person is getting falsely accused and getting the death penalty for it.
That is not a threat. What is the threat? What would you be neutralizing in your case when you're saying that it's of an innocent person?
Because when the death penalty is on the cards, the government can and will make mistakes.
the government will make mistakes because we are in a fallen world. I am trying to avoid a higher mistake. I'm trying to avoid a higher mistake. The higher mistake will not doing what it's meant to do.
You're just presupposing duty. You're just saying this is what we're meant to do. But there's no like what evidence do you point to with the claim?
you
when you
agree
point to
that-
Christianity, I said without the death penalty, Jesus wouldn't have been executed.
And we would not be saved, right?
Yeah, but that's the whole point.
The whole point is we would not be saved by
Is it
Jesus
not
Christ.
is it not a situation when a tragedy happens, when an innocent man is executed by the state? I'd point to Socrates. I mean,
I
when that happens, when that happens, should we not look at ourselves and say maybe what we're doing is wrong?
Well,
Is that
Socrates
not
would
what
actually
Jesus'
say that
point
the
was?
duty of the state is all the way to that because that was the way that he thought about it. They have to be able to produce it due to the way that the law is, and they have to be able to enact justice. In your
Yeah,
case, it would be like,
because
oh well,
yeah.
since there might be an error in the system, what we have to do is not
Mhm.
produce justice. We have to accept the
Yeah.
fact that we cannot do it, and then it's a free for all.
Emmett, the claim
Mhm.
that you're making, Emmett, is that it's not possible for the state to execute an innocent person or to fuck up, right?
No, that's not the
Which
case.
means you're saying one sec, you're saying it's impossible for retards to get into office, and then all of a sudden using this as a tool to just start wiping people out. And then, like I said, when we look at Socrates, when we look at Jesus, these were people where a bunch of retards were in power and they execute an innocent person.
I think it's way more likely that you
So
have
like
a
this is
bunch of
recorded
retards.
history.
I think it's way more likely that you have a bunch of retards in power where there is not actual duty being forced upon them. So when you can go into the power into the government and you have a corrupt government due to the fact that you have not done what you're supposed to
It's
be
not
doing,
it,
that is the
yeah.
way that you get a bunch of retards in power.
Retardation is not corruption.
They're part of it.
No, it's not.
No?
Like, would you say so? Like, would you say someone with like 60 IQ is like they're an evil person?
Do you think corruption means evil?
Yes.
No, it just means that they're not doing their duty. I think it's way more likely than a 60 IQ person will
They're
not
not
do the
doing their
duty that
moral
they're
duty.
supposed to do.
They're not acting good, ergo they're acting bad.
The government is not a moral agent. The government is just a force agent.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter if it's good or bad, right?
There's nefarious, but there's also incompetence.
Yeah.
There's two aspects to this, and you're saying that like
What do you think
regardless of
it's
that like existing. One second. Regardless of that existing, you're saying that this will no longer or there's no chance of like an innocent person being executed.
That's not what I'm saying. Would you please stop a straw man in that position? That's not what I'm saying.
I'm not straw man.
Yeah, but well, I never said that
Go ahead.
an innocent person will not. It's not capable to being executed. It is a possibility. I think the possibility is way more likely to happen when there is corruption in the way that the state works, and that happens a lot when they're not doing their duty, and that includes being able to go to the last consequence when it comes to justice.
Yeah, so like Emma, what I'm pointing towards is that like you're saying it's a possibility. That denotes that it's an if. I'm saying I reject that it's an if. It's a when.
No, I'm not saying that it won't happen. I'm saying that it happens and it will happen way more often when the corrupt system will come to the final conclusion of corruption, which will be for example, the destruction of the system of governance that we have right now. And then when it's only pure force doctrine, way more executions will actually happen due to the corruption of the system. And I don't want a corrupt system. I want a system that is able to go through the different process. If we find that there is an actual issue in the way that we enacted justice, we find ways to procure that doesn't happen again, and we have to be able to do the duty of the government, which includes the death of people that have acted wrongfully.
Yeah, so would you concede, or are you basically saying that like your argument is that the maximum punishment is death?
Yes, the maximum punishment would be death.
Okay, so would you rather like take the death bounty, or every day for 60 years for the rest of your life you're going to be locked in a cage with boy called Jerome, big like 7-foot dude, and he's going to grape you every single day the rest of your life? Which one?
Would I prefer that if I got into a problem with the justice, would I deserve death? Of course, I would take death. Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is that like in terms of the proposition put forward, you're saying the death bounty is like everybody would say no, like I'd choose anything other than the death bounty. And I gave you an example or hypothetical between
No, we're
this
talking
is what
about
like prison
justice,
life's
right?
like.
We're talking about
No, I'm
justice.
saying in terms of and you're saying that the top punishment
Mhm.
is the death bounty.
The
But I'm
top
showing you
just
that
punishment would
there's
be.
but what I'm saying is there's far worse punishments than death.
Okay, yeah, I can agree with that. The point is not about it's
Yeah,
not about what is the worst possible punishment ever procured by man that includes the most amount of suffering
but
possible.
it's
It's
their
about
duty.
what is the justice. Yeah, the just thing to do is not to torture people all the way till they
But
just
they
beg
deserve
for
it, right?
death. No, they deserve justice. You would
But like
think
I
they
said, you're
deserve
just
it.
kind of saying, yeah.
You would think
But like that's
anybody
what I'm saying.
deserves that. Is
What
like
what
you
I'm saying
think that
is,
is the idea of the government?
yeah. What I'm saying is like in both perspectives, in both worldviews. If you're kind
Mhm.
of one of the persons like, no, like we need to go maximum punishment in terms of that, they would choose like the torture aspect rather than death penalty. And then even if you're like the person that, like I was saying in my opening statement, that sanctity of life, you would still hold the view that like death penalty should be outlawed. But you're just
Well,
saying
what you're
like, yeah,
saying
it's a
is you
moral
want
duty, but you're not really referencing why it is.
in your case, you would be saying, "No, I want them to go on and be engraved every single day of their life because I think that is a better solution to the system of justice instead of providing justice when it has to be given, right? Because of sanctity of life."
Yeah, but you're
Is
just
that your
saying
position?
death penalty. Yeah, but you're just saying death penalty equals justice,
Death
but
penalty
you're not
is
actually
has
explaining
to
why.
be part of justice, and it has to be because
Yes.
the government must
Why?
be able to enact it towards the people in a bunch of different situations, including, for example,
Why?
including for ex- okay, the reason why it has to be able to enact is because it has jurisdiction over said people, and they need to be able to do it if force doctrine requires it. That's why.
Yeah, so like for example, right? In this okay, uh in your situation, because you're saying it's my duty, it's my duty, it's my duty.
Of the
I'm
state.
gonna hit you with the trolley problem. I'm gonna hit you with the trolley problem, right?
Hmm.
Technically, OJ Simpson was not guilty. So
Hmm.
he's on one side of the track. The other person on the track is Derek Chauvin.
Hmm.
The train is headed towards Derek Chauvin. Are you pulling pressing that button?
Well, it is a false dichotomy, right?
How's a false dichotomy?
Because you're asking me, well, would you go ahead and do attack somebody that is guilty or someone that is innocent? In my idea, would be we
In
would
terms of
be
the eyes of the law, OJ never took a life, but Derek
yeah, and he
Chauvin
would
took a
not be,
life. In
and
terms
he
of the
would
law, so and because you're saying it's your duty, you would say that you would not press that button because of your duty.
yeah. In this case, what you're saying is I see two people that would be out of the idea of death penalty entirely because one was an officer
They
of the
both took a
state.
life.
He was acting in accordance to what the state was telling him. We know this is a corrupt case specifically, and in the other case, the justice system acquitted him. So why would any of them get the death
Be,
penalty in
be,
this case? I
yeah,
don't see
because
the reason why.
I'm pointing to incompetence and or nefarious.
Yeah, but
Like you're saying,
none
like
of
this,
them
like
would
don't
get
worry,
it.
guys. Like this legal system will never get pushed, even though like Trump all of a sudden is getting RICO charges and all this kind of shit. And you're saying this stuff will not be weaponized, or there won't be any
No, it will.
retards
It
that
could
slip through the
be.
cracks.
It absolutely could be
Yeah.
weaponized.
So
But the point
then it
of
becomes
the
when the
yeah.
state takes innocent lives, how are you going to explain to those families and
But it
those
goes
people
back
of
to
that
corruption,
individual
right?
that that was justice?
It goes back to corruption in that case, right?
It's not corruption.
It is corruption. If you're talking about a corrupt system, for example,
Incompetence is not corruption.
the RICO cases that are being done against Trump that you mentioned, that would be corruption. And you would be talking about the
Yeah,
dereliction of duty is what is
one
causing
aspect.
corruption. It's not the other way around. So I would say that the
That's one
problem that
aspect.
we have in the United States is that we have gotten a way of doing the duty towards the government has gone away towards doing what its duty is. So that's why we're seeing this kind of issues. And instead of moving
Yeah.
away from
Okay,
it, we should
Emmett,
move towards it.
real quick, Em. I will concede the debate if you can do this to me.
Mhm.
Name me one government that hasn't devolved into corruption.
I can tell you one
Exactly.
government.
So
I
when the
can I
government
can
executes innocent people, how are you going to explain to
I
those
can tell
families that
you
that was
I
justice?
can tell you one government that was absolutely corrupt, and when they started applying the law and getting away and started doing their duty, they become less corrupt, and that would be, for example, El Salvador. El Salvador went to one of the most corrupt places in the world to not that corrupt anymore, right? And what is they
Yeah,
do?
but
They
like,
started enacting the
okay,
law and
yeah,
doing their duty.
okay,
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah, but they lock them up. They don't need to start just executing people. Because like one aspect to it, it's like when all these bodies like the from the thing where we just wipe out all the bad people, apparently all the bad people, right? And
I
it's
mean,
all
they're
like first side
executing
and
them
stuff.
just in a
They,
very
yeah,
slow way. I would think that that is the way that they're doing
yeah,
it. It's like they're putting them in a place. They have absolutely nothing they can do. They will never see the
hmm
light of day. They have
yeah.
their existence is way worse than it was before. I would think that the only morality they're doing in that case is not actually procuring justice. But what I said and what you asked me is, well, have you seen one government that has not been corrupt? And told you this is a case in which they started doing their duty, and instead of becoming more corrupt, they become less corrupt.
No, because again,
Yeah,
like I said, in terms of like the like this aspect of like, yeah, the corruption will fix itself. You're still kind of saying, yeah, the price of that is still innocent lives.
the price will always be innocent lives
Like
because I don't I
the
don't
whole thing of
understand what
like the
that means.
corruption, like the corruption will like what you're saying is the corruption will just like solve itself and it'll just cycle through between corruption to non-corruption,
What
back to corruption,
do you
back to
think the
non-corruption. It's a
people
cycle,
on
which
yeah
I can understand.
do you
But what
think
I'm
the
saying is
people
because
on
that's like going around in a one sec, because that's going around in a circle, what you're saying is every single time it gets corruption, there's going to be a lot of innocent people that are going to be losing
yeah
their lives.
the
And it makes
price
it
is
more
still
difficult.
innocent life, okay?
Yeah.
If you don't do your duty as a government, the price is still innocent life. What happened in El Salvador is they had the highest amount of murders in the world, and they were innocent. And they actually
Yeah,
the
but
last
when
week
yeah,
before they actually
mhm.
put everybody in jail, they killed like 100 people, and they were all civilians and innocent, and they did it because the government was about to put them all in jail.
Yeah, but when you give the government the power of like death,
Mm.
control over death, it's a lot more harder to get out of corruption.
They have
Usually
control
the
over
state
death
just
anyway.
fails.
No, they already have the control over death because they have in the institution of force, and they will use it all the way to death, no matter what you do. For example, if you don't want to pay taxes and they go all the way, they try to put you in
Yeah.
jail, and you resist. What do you think is going to happen to you?
Okay, they have the power of innocent death.
What I don't know what you mean by innocent death in this case.
Because like I said, when you take out the death penalty, you saying that like more innocent lives going to be taken from that. I
Hmm.
disagree.
No,
Because
they
like
will
the
be.
government doing their job, one sec, the government doing their job is like neutralizing the threat. You can take those people and take them away from society. Like you can even have a whole trial over the course of weeks and bring them into the public and still have this trial and all this forum proceedings. So it's like in terms of like the threat being neutralized, in terms of like any more damage done to the human civilization, the state can already do that.
Yeah,
You're the one
but
who's
you
saying
are
that
causing
the added
corruption.
billing on top of that is the death penalty, which makes no sense.
Yeah, but you're causing corruption at that point, and you're actually doing a cruel
How are
punishment.
you
And I would
causing
say
corruption?
because you're not doing your duty towards those people. Your duty is to procure
But you're just
justice, and
presupposing
that
that that's the
includes the
duty.
death. That includes the death of people who are done heinous acts so grave when it comes to the societal standard that they
hmm
need to be removed.
But
You
you're the one
have
who's
to be able to do it
yeah, you're just presupposing the duty, saying it's like, yeah, the state has to be able to do this and the state must be able to
yes,
do this. And it's like, yeah, but
because
you're not explaining why.
it has jurisdiction over the people, and it will do it in other cases. So it has to extend to justice. It has to.
Yeah, so like, let me put it this way. When we look at the whole aspect of like immortality, of like if there was like a certain thing that like the whole kind of superhero to try and kind of keep the secular aspect to it, but you could talk about like, let's say Jesus or whatever.
Mhm.
This whole aspect of like if there was like such a being, like a god type being that like is unkillable, like how would you be able to deal with that? And it's like, no, there's no way to possibly deal with that. But if you have enough distance or maintain enough distance between you and this being, then basically it's almost like that being doesn't exist. And it's
I
the
don't,
same kind of like concept here. It's the same. One second. It's the same kind of concept here in terms of like this whole aspect of if the government has the power of the death bounty, you're going to have innocent lives being taken by the state.
yeah,
But
and
if
if
you
you
want
don't
to
enact your
purify, one sec, if you want to purify the state, you have to make sure that they don't have the power to take innocent life.
no, the state has the power to take innocent life because they're the ones that hold all of the force. They
Okay,
have
so
it.
then your life is not yours. Your life
No,
belongs to the state.
your life is
Yeah.
duty bound. In fact, it has never belonged to you. That's why that's why you're not
Uh,
supposed to.
your life does not belong to you.
No, it doesn't belong to you. You think your
What?
life belongs to you? You have the right to just go ahead and
Yes.
be a nihilist and delete
So you don't
yourself?
control your destiny. You're saying you don't control your destiny.
That's not what it means. You have free will. That doesn't mean you have power over
If I
your
don't have
life.
control over my life, how
Yeah,
can I have
don't.
control over my destiny?
You have duty to your life. That doesn't mean that you have the you're not owner of it. You are borrowing your life in other sense.
I don't understand what you mean.
Which framework do you want to use? Because maybe this is a framework difference. Do you want to go through Christian framework? Do you want to go to an atheist framework, or which one do you want to use?
Like in terms of like the way I look at it,
Hmm.
like why should one act morally, or why ought we ought?
Well, I need to know your
You know what I mean?
framework. Are you an atheist? Are you a Christian? What are you? So I can answer
I'm
that
not a
question in a
Christian.
way that makes
Uh,
sense.
it's it's a difficult label to deal with, because like when I hear the likes of Jay Dyer talk about God in terms of like the metaphysics, being able to
Hmm.
ground that in terms of like the logic and the logos, etc., etc. That's one aspect. But then I can look at like Heraclitus, ancient Greek philosopher. That's where I got the river
Hmm.
quote from. This whole aspect of like when he's talking about the logos being the law of change that governs the cosmos. He's basically talking about the same stuff that J. Dyer is talking about in terms of that aspect of God, but he wouldn't call himself Christian, etc., etc.
I
So
still
in terms of
cannot
like
answer
that
your
aspect, that's
question
where I'm
if you
kind of
don't
lining
give
up.
me a
But
framework.
yeah, no, but like I'm getting there. Let me cook, right? So
Hmm.
in terms of like this whole thing of like the morality, the way I look at it, it's like more so like as an instrumentalist, or as like looking at it as a tool. Because when you look at like people who would deny that there's objective morality, they would have to then deny that demoralization is not a thing.
Okay, you
And when
believe in
you look at like
objective morality?
demoralization, yes. So it's like, but it's not static.
Do you think? Do you think?
It's in flux.
Do you think self-deletion is a moral action?
Um, no.
Why not? It's your life. You should be able to do it, right?
You have ultimate control and you can do it, but should you do it? No. And like I said, getting
Yeah.
back to the moral thing, why ought we act morally? Is because you will demoralize yourself to the point where you will get to that stage where you no longer want to live. You just want to self-delete.
Yeah, you will go to nihilism, right?
Nihilism, exactly.
Nihilism, right?
Yes. And like that's what like that's what like the why you have to say it's like there is like an objective sense to morality
Yeah, you
in
need to
terms of
be
like
able to have
as
a
an
higher sense of of your life. So your life doesn't belong to you. You're duty bound to your life. Otherwise, you could go ahead and say, "My life is
no.
my life. I can go ahead and do whatever I want with it." And if I self delete, it wouldn't be a
Mhm,
immoral action. It would actually be moral for me to self delete because I have
mhm,
ultimate control over my life in the moral sense. I'm not talking about the ease. In the ease statement, you're correct. You do have ultimate, let's say, freedom to do whatever you want in that case. But if you are believing that you have an actual framework in which morality supersedes your own idea of your own will of action, and you have a duty to your life, then the life doesn't belong to you. You have a duty to it.
no, what I'm saying is the duty is not like the you can aim yourself towards a higher principle or a higher power.
Mhm.
I have to
Why?
I have to phrase this very carefully. Like just one second, like you can orientate yourself in terms of like that higher aspect and all that kind of stuff. Because in terms of reality, there are limitations. You know what I mean? You cannot jump to the moon, for example, even though it's logically possible. You cannot jump to the moon physically. You know what I mean? So in terms of in terms of the reality, there's limitations in terms of like things you can and can't do, and in terms of like objectivity and all stuff. This is why Eternals, infinites, like infinity, all that stuff. Like these are important concepts to understand. You know
Okay,
what I mean? Like
yeah,
why, like this whole thing of being able to ground everything. Just real quick, because I do want to like shout out the Orthodox, like respectfully. That's what I'm saying. I'm choosing my words carefully. But in terms of like the Orthodox, when Jadar is talking about like ground, or Andrew is talking about like grounding your morality on stuff, it's like you have to be able to ground these eternals or these infinite concepts that never change.
yeah. You're talking about
That's
the
why God is
transcendental
unchanging.
argument. Yeah. The what I'm talking about is we're talking about the ease right now. Like in your case, you were talking about things you can and cannot do, but you can actually self delete. In fact, when a lot of people do it, and we're talking about duty bound ideas.
No, yeah,
And
no,
if
we're talking about
you're
should, not can.
no, no, I yes, but you were talking about things that you can and cannot do, and those are like the limits of things that you have as a framework.
Hmm.
So in your case and in my case, we know that I believe we shouldn't self delete. We can. So there's not a problem of
Yes.
a threshold in whether we can or cannot do. It's we shouldn't
Yeah.
do it, right?
Yes.
Can we agree on that? Perfect. So if
Yes.
we shouldn't do it, that means that our life, that the question becomes, why shouldn't we do it? And if it's anything that is duty bound, that means that our life is not necessarily ours. Because otherwise, if it's just mine and I can do whatever I want with what I have, there wouldn't be any problem with me self-deleting. None at all.
Yeah. So yeah, like in terms of like the way the mentality works, then it's like, yeah, like that whole thing is like that person like demoralized themselves, or like they got demoralized to the point where it's like that's what happens, bro. You lose the will to live. That's why Nietzsche was saying will to power, bro. God is dead. So if you're going to become an atheist, you got to make sure you don't become a fucking nihilist. You have to be able to put like that like higher power there, like we're talking about in terms of the abstract principles and all this stuff, and be able to point towards something that like is objective or in the thing. So it's like a lot of these motherfuckers, the reason why they fail against Andrew, J. Dyer, et cetera, is because they have no grounding in it and they have to go down the more relativity route. But I myself can point to change. Change is universal. You know what I mean?
Ch-
And then from there you can ground it. But yeah, go on.
Is identity part of logic?
Yes.
How if it's changing?
Because yeah. So like as we develop in terms of like technology and as things change, more knowledge is accrued, or sometimes knowledge is lost, which would then affect the perspective of that. I mean, I'm not saying
that
that
goes
like
back to identity, right?
I just want to clarify. I'm saying objective truth exists, or objective morals exist, but I'm not saying that any one individual is or is even capable of adhering to such objectivity. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's part of Christianity. In Christianity, as I said, we are living in a fallen world, and we can go ahead and see that there is such thing as the fallen of actions
Hmm.
in humans. That is why justice is so important. Otherwise, we wouldn't need justice. If we can just be perfect, there wouldn't be a need of justice. Everyone would be perfect. And having systems in which we are acting in accordance to what we should do, in this case, having a system like
Hmm.
governance in which we have a bounds of what
Hmm.
it's supposed to be doing, for example, enacting justice, and this includes deleting the persons that are unwilling to be part of our system. In that case specifically, there is a duty of the state to act so that we can go ahead and be in a better society. And the idea of better is not like the perfect society, it's better in the sense of this is the capacity that we have as fallen person to enact justice and do what is right.
Yeah. So would you concede though that in the perfect society you would not have the death penalty?
In a perfect society, we wouldn't need a justice system.
Yeah. So like we
Mhm.
wouldn't have the death penalty. Yeah.
We wouldn't
So
have
like I
any
said, in terms
penalty.
of that, like
What would be a
yeah. So like
penalty
in
in a
terms
perfect society, for example?
I think you would concede that there would be laws.
Why?
Because like in terms of a perfect society, unless it's like even in terms of if it conquered the whole planet, there could be other life out there. You never know, all this kind of shit, unfalsifiability. I get that, but in terms of like the dynamic, like that's certain things like there's the perfect society, but then there would always be an outside force to that. There's
Why
never
would
just like the
why
one.
would there be, besides these kind of weird hypotheticals, that there is other life that would be fallen instead of us? Why would there be any kind of law and in a perfect society?
Yeah, so then I gotta ask you like what you mean by fallen. Then I think
Fallen is
we
that
have a misunderstanding
we
there.
don't act in perfection, right?
Yeah, so like in terms of like the we, like we're talking about like humans.
Humans. Uh-huh.
But let's say if there's so let's say if there's some like type of like alien life out there, like think of like the orcs in Lord of the Rings, or like Alien versus
Yeah,
Predator
yeah.
kind of type shit out there.
Let's say that I grant that, because I can't even go ahead and defeat the orcs in Lord of the Rings, right? But let's say that I grant it. That in that case specifically, we would need to have laws for them. But if that's not the case, if
Yeah.
it's only humans and we live in a perfect society of humans, why would we need law?
Yeah, but humans, because like what I'm pointing to is like nature, for example, like there's gonna be bears and all this kind of shit. So it's like in terms of like peaceful society, we don't even need guns and all this kind of stuff. It's like, nah, bruh, we need that
Are
shit
we gonna
because
have trials for bears now?
no, I'm not talking about birds and all that kind of stuff. But I'm talking about like in terms of like the aspect like nature itself is it's brutal, it's violent, it's bloody, etc., etc. Like think of that scene with Leonardo DiCaprio and the bear. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like that's nature for you, bruh.
but we're
You know,
talking
so
about
like in terms
this.
of like
We're,
savagery,
yeah, I agree with you. I said
like,
that's what I said, that we live in
but
a
like
fallen society, but
yeah,
we're in a hypothetical in which there's no fallen society. We don't live in that fallen society. We live in the perfect society. Why would we need, if men are acting in accordance to perfection, law in that
yeah.
society?
Because like I said, there's like other beasts and all this kind of stuff out there. So like it's not like that society is just like all like cushy padded and bubble wrap and all this kind of stuff. It's like there's still violence.
Yeah, but we would
I
act in
mean, like that's
accordance
what
to
I'm pointing
nature
towards.
perfectly, right?
Yeah, and like on
So
that
we
principle
wouldn't
of
need
like
to
self
have
defense.
we wouldn't need to
Yeah, but
have
like just real quick,
that.
yeah, just real quick, like that whole kind of like aspect of the Thor quote, like a wise king must always be prepared for war but never seek it out. The whole aspect of self defense, Department of Defense, but again, Trump changed the part of Department of War. But like that whole aspect of like like neutralizing the threat rather than just going in and executing the enemy. You know
Will
what I
there
mean?
be will there be in a
It
perfect
sounds the
society?
same, and but like what I'm saying is it sounds the same, and in some situations it would end up the same. But in terms of like the perspective that you're looking at, if you can just neutralize the threat, it's like getting a draw in the game.
Yeah, well,
Like you could be getting
neutralizing the
hockey by
threat can
like
be
20,
killing the
25 points all game.
neutralizing the
Hmm?
threat could be killing the threat, right?
Yeah, so like if this is like a standoff and all this kind of stuff, it's like yeah, like 100% in terms of that. But like that's not the death penalty. You know what I mean? Death penalty is like you're having a court case, you're sitting them down and all these kinds of chains, and it's like bro, like at that stage, like
You're
it's
neutralizing
like
them for
if
committing any
yeah,
other kind of action
so
in society, right?
yeah, so let me ask you this: if someone was breaking into my house,
Hmm.
right? Let's say it happened right now, whatever. Like the
Before we
stream go
move,
viral, all that kind of shit.
okay,
Yeah,
so sorry,
but
Tareyak.
real quick,
Before we
if
move
some
forward, just real quick,
yeah, good.
can you agree that in a perfect society we wouldn't need the laws? Real quick.
In terms of like perfect to adhere to the strict definition, yes.
Okay, we can move
Yeah.
on.
So like in yeah. So like in terms of the aspect of like if someone was breaking into my house right now, and like I let's say I had a pew pew, and then like I jumped down all this kind of stuff, and then like basically you hear like the commotion and stuff, and then you hear like him clearly walking out the door, and then like running down the street, and then I chase him 20 yards down the street, and then I shoot him.
Mhm.
Right. In terms of that aspect, would you say that's self defense,
No, I don't think that
or
is
was the
self-defense.
trick?
But I mean,
Yeah, because
if
like
I was in a
there was
perfect
no longer a threat.
society, if I was in a perfect society and somebody entered my house uninvited, I would think in a perfect society that there is good reason for that person to enter my house uninvited, and I would probably think that there is a bear outside and that they needed a refugee, and I would not be thinking anything wrong about it. I would be acting in accordance to perfection myself, right?
Yeah, but again, like humans are incapable of being perfect. That's the like
Hmm.
what you mean by falling, correct?
Yeah,
100%.
exactly.
So we're back on the same page. Beautiful. So like I said, in terms of like that dynamic, like you're kind of saying, like in terms of the government being able to execute, you're saying this is a necessary evil.
No, it's a necessary duty of the state. There's a difference between that and, for example, the same person goes into your house, goes on, let's say, deletes your kid, and then he gets caught for it. If there is the case in which the police would have actually deleted him while he was in the commission of said action, for whatever reason, then the same thing would apply to that person, that you would go on ahead and produce justice so that that person pays in retribution for what he did. And it will be better for that person and for you and for society in general.
But the argument that I'm making, or the reason why I brought up the going in the house and stuff like or like running away like 20 yards and then doing it,
Hmm.
is because like the way I look at it is like that's basically what the state's doing with like you're able to do the trial procedure and stuff. Like technically, like the state could literally make that motherfucker dance like a monkey and like put on like a funny hat and like a sailor's costume or whatever. Because like they
Okay.
have tasers and all this kind of like in terms of like what the state is capable of and when I'm talking about capable, I'm talking about what they
Hmm.
can do this individual. They could make them do whatever they want. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So when you're already in a situation where it's like you're holding all the cards, to me, for the state to then say, like we're taking your life, to me, it's like if you look at that from the like, okay, that's too brutal side of things. Like obviously you would be against the death penalty, but even if you're looking at it more off the like sadistic side or the extreme element, you would even say, nah, bro, that's like a waste of life. You could use that motherfucker as a battery. You know what I mean? Like look at Peter Thiel with the Antichrist technocracy. We need to fuel the AI, guys. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Our Lord and Savior AI or Grok or whatever. So like in
but
terms of
I
that,
mean,
just
if that
using it as a
is
human battery, then yeah.
that would come to a different framework, right? We will be talking at that point about utilitarianism, in which you're trying to get the most utility out of the situation. And in that case, it's not
hmm
it wouldn't be duty bound. It would be the utility of said person in accordance to what we think society needs, or the greatest amount of utility for it. But I reject utilitarianism because there's no way in which we can actually predict or even say what is the most utility that we can get out of it. In fact, what I would say is that the corruption that we're seeing, if I was a pure utilitarianism, the corruption of what we're seeing in the government and in society in general is it's creating more of a problem when it comes to the utility framework than if we just kill him. So I would still just go ahead and delete the person in proper execution, instead of using them for whatever utility I believe, because I think it will be the opposite. We will be getting the opposite idea. We will be getting, instead of getting the utility of having this person work for us, we will be destroying the society little by little.
But when you look at like maximizing good, right? So it's like we have like locked them up for the rest of their life, and that's going to be cost the state X amount, or cost the taxpayer, I should say, because fuck the state. I wipe
Hmm.
my ass with the state. Uh, but shout out to Millet. Like the whole aspect of like locking them up and all stuff, like that's going to cost state so much. And then you're kind of saying like
Hmm.
in terms of the death penalty, in terms of however loose you want to kind of like put the guidelines, it could technically be cheaper if we get very kind of loosey goosey with the rules and just bust the cap in his ass. Uh, or it could be this thing where it's even more expensive, like what we're kind of seeing and currently happening play out. Um, but what I'm saying is that like there is a third option, which one could deem is immoral or whatever, but in terms of the greater good, like using this motherfucker as a battery,
No,
in terms of
that's what
like
I
because
said.
then you can use that to fund like further goodness in the world that the state could pursue in terms of like government projects, etc., etc. So it's like in terms of like that situation in terms of those three options, would it not be the best case, the most good or the most just thing for like that person to be used as a battery?
Yeah, as I said, I agree with you if we're gonna go with pure utilitarianism. But then I reject pure utilitarianism because we don't know
But
the
even in
actual
terms of the
utility
duty,
of. But then if we go ahead and I'm gonna use the framework, and I say, well, there is utility in having this person, I don't know, do X amount of thing for us. But if the action of having this person alive is creating corruption in the system, and it's way less utility for me in the long run, because I'm gonna have a bunch of problems in the society in general, the utility calculation at some point will be, let's go ahead and delete that person out of pure utility, so that my system is the best possible solution to what I consider to be the utility framework, right?
well, no, because like the use them as the battery would just be like more. It's like you just have like a greater benefit than just executing them. You know what I'm saying?
What
Because
would
like
it
in terms
be?
of like
What
the
are you talking
in terms of
about?
like
Just
yeah, because
I
like
put
like
in.
like for example, like war, going to
Mhm.
war with another nation, that's not the death penalty, bro. You know what I mean?
I'm not talking about war.
Yeah, but what I'm saying in terms of like that kind of thing, if it's the like like let's say two people are having like the corruption or whatever, like the judge and the sheriff, whatever, in the office where he went pew pew, like that kind of type situation, it's kind of like that shit like happens or whatever. But in terms of like what I'm saying is in terms of death penalties, like this whole system where you want it to be like a court case, to have the hearing, all this kind of stuff, where threat is clearly neutralized, but you have that additional layer that you're saying this is the duty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the duty is
That's where I'm kind
to
of like, yeah, go ahead.
the the duty would be, well. I'm having a. Okay, I'm trying to understand your perspective on this. You're saying that it is better for it is better. It has more utility, and it would be better morally to have them as a battery, and just
Yeah,
use
human
them the
batteries.
rest of their life, instead of just killing
Putting a
them,
bullet in
right?
them. Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so this is what I'm saying is, okay. Let's say that is correct on that framework. The problem is that I
hmm
believe if we go back into like the actual idea of the whole society, and we see that having these people as battery is corrupting the whole system of society, then the utility calculation might be that this person should actually just receive a bullet, And if that is the case, I don't see any problem with just putting a bullet in them in your own framework, right?
Yeah, no, but because like even like this is still the original, like from what I said all the way back in the open in terms of like this like human life is sacred kind of thing. It's like that whole
Hmm.
aspect of like even like being able to use like human beings as an energy source.
Yeah,
Like when you think of like your human labor, that's an example of like you
yeah,
using
yeah.
like human labor as like energy source, et cetera, et cetera. So like what I'm saying is that in terms of like the human battery situation, I don't see that being a corrupting factor
Well, the corrupting
for the
factor,
current system.
the corrupting
Yeah.
factor in my argument is that you're not that the state is they're electing its duty of
Yeah.
actually enacting justice, and what we're seeing instead is that they're
Yeah.
doing some kind of other thing instead of actually acting according to the duty of enacting justice, and that is a corrupting factor towards the government, and it's
Yeah,
compounding.
I'm
So
not. Yeah,
you'll see more and more
yeah,
of these issues coming up instead of less.
yeah. No, no. I'm not denying that it's incorruptible. Like what I'm saying is that it's like, for example, like you can point towards that capitalism can cause corruption. It's like, yeah, 100%. Like capitalism can, because it produces abundance and in abundance, et cetera, greed,
Mhm.
et cetera. So like in terms of like that aspect, that's why like I'm pointing towards like this like the like a lot of people think it's either you lock them up for the rest of their life, or you have the death penalty. But then like I said, there's like a third option where it's like this whole kind of like looking at them as like a human battery. Because like
Yeah, yeah,
what you were trying to point towards in terms of the start was like it is without shadow of a doubt like these people are just like they can't even have a discussion. Like a good example of what I thought you were going to throw at me was the whole kind of Charlie Kirk thing. Like these people who were dancing and fucking like laughing, all this kind of shit, and like the people that are like Halloween's coming, and we all know what's going to be plastered all over things. So just prepare yourselves for that, by the way.
Mhm.
But like these individuals, I've even said it myself. You cannot have rational conversations with these people. It
Yeah.
is impossible. Like to that point. So it's like, what do we do with that? And that's why I say it's either internal conflict. It's just like we might as well just like have it out, or we accept that things are going to get more authoritarian. We need to lock these people up either in a mental institution or in prison. And then, like I said, in terms of this aspect of like human battery aspect, if we can get like some sort of value or worth from it, I think that's a greater good than the two options that we had previous to this discussion, because
Okay.
technology is getting to that point.
I can see that as a possibility of a way to go into retribution that makes sense in certain cases. But I'm talking about other kinds of situations. Like I'm gonna this is I'm sorry, easy. I'm gonna try to be as non-specific as possible with this example, but it's a true example. There is a person. In fact, it was a woman. This woman would go ahead and call and make catfish. Sorry, they would catfish other women that were pregnant, and they would offer them a place where they could supposedly rest, and they would have things paid for them during this time in the pregnancy. They were pretty much about to be in labor. They would get like a free doctor, and they would get all these supposedly free stuff. And what they would do is they would kidnap them. They would steal the baby, and they would harvest the organs and sell them, and they got caught. We know that this person was part of that. Like, this was the mastermind. The actual thing got actually they caught him, and these kind of people, there's not even a way that I can imagine having them in a in others. Like the proper way of dealing with these kind of people has to be the proper justice, right? They need to be out of this world and get their actual time with the creator so that they can have their place, which is not mine to say which one it is. And I'm not talking about people that are having a Halloween contest or that it sucks. You can have rational discussions with them. They do have some kind of I'm gonna have a little bit of leeway. Maybe some dumb kid think it's funny, but but the other part that like I don't think anybody thinks what I described a moment ago is funny, right?
No,
So these
and
kind of
that's what
people
that like.
and these kind of
Yeah,
people
sorry, go ahead.
exist. These kind of people not only exist, these kind of people are prevalent in societies, and they are the result of corrupting forces. And what I propose in these kind of debates is we have to be able to do the duty of what is right in accordance to what we have decided the government is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about justice. It's supposed to be about the duty of the people towards it, and instituting, even in, at least in America, the will of the people over society in general. And that is what I'm
Yeah.
prescribing in this case.
And like I said, like anybody who thinks that the human battery thing is like psychotic, because it kind of is. I'm not gonna lie, but like the reason why I'd say that is that like that's what they were technically doing to those babies, and that mother and all that kind of stuff. They were basically looking at them as like this whole thing. So it's like, I think a more just punishment is, okay, you think that was acceptable, I'm going to give you your own medicine. You're going to be in this pod, and we're just going to use your fucking like body heat or whatever as like an energy thing to fuel some like AI thing, because apparently that takes up a lot of energy. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's green. It's green. It's energy efficient, Greta. So don't worry. You know what I mean? We ain't burning no carbon.
Well,
Apparently.
the position in that case, well, I understand what you're saying. That would be another that I'm gonna go into Christian ethics for a second, and it's like, well, I do think that there is the
Mhm.
sacredcy of life, and in that is the case, then I'm not supposed to just go ahead and destroy, um, and utilize the fellow man as just a pure battery. I do have a duty to them, even in justice, to put them in the proper place. In this case, death is mercy, and they should be put to death in this case.
But like, and that's what I'm saying. Like the main thing for me is like the explanation of why, because like
Mhm.
fundamentally the caveat to it is that it's like it is a when, not an if, and I think
Yeah,
when
I
you get
agree.
to that moment as a society, like that can basically make or break society, or it could cause what you like. And that's why I asked you, like, was it a necessary evil? Because this whole aspect of like Jesus, the story of Jesus. You know what I mean? This thing of like society getting so crazy or so corrupt that they're literally executing innocent people. You know what I mean? So like in terms of your aspect, you're kind of saying this is the like this is why it needs to be, because this is the warning and the sign for everybody to say, okay, things are out of whack. We need to start rising up, because essentially the death of Jesus Christ, like you're saying, it's like we needed it because that's what sparked the revolution of Christianity. That's why I point back to Christianity as or what, like why I would have no issue defending Christianity against a lot of the critique that you face with a lot of atheists nowadays, is because like fundamentally that story is like what you would point to as like objective truth. You know what I mean? Like that's a telltale sign of when a society has gone completely out of fucking whack. When innocent people, and that's why I brought up Derek Chauvin. You know what I mean? Technically under the eyes of the law, he's evil, and OJ's an angelic fucking thing. Do you know what I mean? But we all know that shit's in reverse. You
Well,
know what I mean? So this whole thing of
those
the
are
degradation's been for a while.
this
Yeah,
is
go
what
ahead.
I said, that in both of those cases I wouldn't see that death penalty to be an enactable force. There are places in which I think it's enactable, and there are cases in which I don't think it's enactable. There are cases in which you have people like Ted. It's not Ted Cruz. Nicholas Cruz, I think it was his name. Um, and this is the guy that did the high school pew pew in Florida and killed like nine or 10 people, and he should have been given the death penalty, because there's no question of what he did, when he did it, and why he did it. The reason was pretty much because he wanted to be famous as the people, as the guys in Columbine, right? So there
Mm-hmm.
are cases in which I think it is. If there, I could even consider, if there's like high dispute of what actually happened, I don't think it would be a way to go when it comes to the case. And this goes back into putting the actual railways into providing justice. I don't want a system that is so corrupt that everybody can just get deleted. But I do want a justice in which the system has to be able to provide the justice in cases in which those are necessary. S- The case I said about the person catfishing woman, I think that it's absolutely necessary that we make make the example of this is not acceptable, and we're not going to accept it, and it's the person that does it is going to get absolutely cheated out of society every single time. But that's not the case, as if, I don't know, somebody goes on in a car and has an accident and unfortunately kills a person. That is a completely different circumstance.
But like this is what I'm saying in terms of like what should be is a very difficult concept approach. And like when we're like that's why kind of like I said, like anybody who thinks I'm bullshit, and it's like I literally said at the start of my stream before this kick started. I think Emmett's either going to do this or he's going to do the moral argument, which is where kind of typically the short aspect goes. Um, but in terms of like the way I look at it, like what society should orientate itself to and what it actually is are two completely different things. That's why the whole like you kind of getting is from an art and all this kind of shit. But in terms of like what should happen, like that's why we pointed out the perfect, and then I kind of gave a funny answer to Emmett where he asked a good question of like the like or like in a perfect society would this be? It's like, well, technically yes, in terms of the strict definition of perfect, that would be the case. But what I'm talking about here is uh like for example in Ireland, like you've heard a lot of stories, and recently there was a 10-year-old that was SA'd uh, at one of these migrant hotels. And I would say, in terms of like the eyes of law, I don't think the government should be able to execute that person, even though it's an absolute egregious, horrific act. But what I will say is the when you were talking about like the will of people gets enacted, um, all of a sudden, apparently, global warming happened, and like their houses started burning down because of global warming, apparently. So, in terms of like what happens, and again, I read between the lines what I'm talking about there because I'm trying to be TOS friendly. But in terms of like the quote unquote justice and this whole thing of like dealing with the mob, like the like the whole kind of like distinction between what does happen and what should happen. That's what I'm trying to make in terms of like my argument. Even though like I necessarily kind of like I completely understand like Emmett's perspective and like a lot of other people who view on the other side of the aspect of this point, because there are a lot of people where it's like it's just a whole lot easier just to say no, you're just done, bruh. You know what
Well,
I mean? And just think of like a good example. Sorry, just real quick. The good example is like just think about chats. It's just like some people are just bots in general, where it's like, nah, bro, you're just not tonight. You know what I mean? Like
okay.
just like it's easier just the ban, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So I think I understand. I think I understood what you want to say. Just to be sure, this global warming was caused by some people being very very mad and all of a sudden, right? Okay, yeah.
Yep.
So what I would say is that it's way more likely that you see these kind of situations in places where corruption has actually ingrained into the system, in which you're not actually seeing justice. People will usually go ahead and clamor for justice. Just something I read before for long. Um, for example, I believe in California over here, the death penalty has been like um there's been a moratorium on every single one. It was done by Newsom in 2019. Before that, there was another. The Supreme Court decided that it was not going to enact them anymore in the 70s, and there was a vote by the people, and the people decided in California that they wanted it instituted. And I think the reason why we see this kind of situations is because there is this inherent, and I'm going to use Christianity in this case, need of the people to see justice enacted, and it's like given to us by the creator, so we have an inherent idea of what is just and what isn't just. This is obviously, and you can call it out for what it is, because it can be seen as a naturalistic fallacy, but the point of the argument is not that it's a fallacy, or I'm pretty much saying that the whole point of the idea is to to understand that there is this clamor of the people for justice, and if you don't actually fulfill it, you can see things as global warming, getting some houses on fire.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like, and the important distinction to happen or to understand about like what I'm talking about in terms of my argument is um like the should is basically the rules, but as we know, like the rules are not always strictly followed. You know what I mean? And in terms of
Hmm.
like
Yep.
the actions or what actually does happen does not necessarily mean that like that is justice, even though many people would feel as though that would be justice. And like I said, in terms of like walking the lines, or like when we're talking about what we should do or why ought we ought, I think it would be it's a better framing overall to orientate the rules or the limitations on government, so that like you minimalize innocent death as like the top, rather than trying to pursue ultimate justice or perfect justice.
Yeah,
Um,
what I see the problem with that is the same thing, right? It's always going to be innocent death in these kind of cases, because in what case you are protecting those that have those that are seen as guilty by the law in general, and in the other case you're protecting and in the other case you are you may have a person that goes through the system that we didn't do all due diligence. We failed as in the government. We failed our duty to be in accordance to that person. But that's going to save the innocent people outside, and in the other case, there's going to be way more innocent people outside that are going to fall through the cracks into the idea of the criminality. So the criminals will either be some kind of they will have some kind of leeway or not, and if the criminals have leeway, they will absolutely get to kill more people outside.
but one final thing in terms of the aspect of corruption or rooting out corruption, it's easier if you have the death
Mm.
penalty and all that kind of stuff. I would argue that, like for example, that migrant who done the thing on the 10-year-old, if the state was just to execute that, then that would quell the rising tension from the people. But then it would just prolong actually rooting out the corruption within the government, because it for the government to get to a situation where there's not only like illegal and all that kind of shit migration going on, then there's all these travesties going on, and then it gets covered up by the police, and then all of a sudden you're getting infiltrated and all this kind of shit by it. That's when it's like, bro, like the fact that the government would have that level of authority, then if it does get infiltrated, then like you're talking about outside forces, and then all of a sudden Sharia laws enacted, and we're cutting off hands for thieves and all this kind of shit. It gets out of control. And I'm not saying that's what Emmett's saying. I'm just saying like that's the
Yeah.
cautionary thing that like I'm proposing in terms of like how we structure the guidelines or how we structure the laws. I think we should orientate towards that. But like I said, I understand the perspective of people who say like no, like there's a rational argument for this.
Yeah, just real quick, as a finish, if I may, easy, I know that's about to finish the clock, but that's what I'm talking about, the corruption of the state. I think that if you go ahead and not do the duty of the state in this case, it includes the death penalty. But the problem, for example, in the case of the immigrant, is that they're not complying with all of a bunch of other laws that are in the books. And it's like that's why I said it's a compounding effect. If you are being corrupt on one side of the government and what their duty is, it's gonna trickle down into all of the other areas of the government up to the point in which you're actually seeing corruption ingraining. And the way to get rid of corruption is not to shy away from the duty of, but actually enact the duty. So in this case, that's what I'm saying. Is like you have to enact the duty of the state so that you can actually attack corruption and get rid of it.
Alrighty. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is gonna wrap up the hour of open floor portion. We're gonna get into our closing statements here. Let me make sure I got the right timers. First off, I want to say again, thank you to both debaters for showing up and giving a hell of a show for everyone. Make sure everyone in the chat goes and finds the debaters in the description. Okay, my mods can share their channels as well, so that you can go to their channels. Give them a like. They're both streaming right now, so give them a like, sub up, send them some money. They both killed it. All right. So again, we're gonna get into the closing statements here before we do the Q&A. So this will be a 5-minute closing statement. Emmett was the opening, so he's going to be the opening for closing statements, and that'll give Tareyak the last word, because I like to do one person gets the first word, the other gets the last. So Emmett, whenever you're ready, go ahead, and I'll start the timer up with your voice.
First of all, thank you, Terry Jack. That was a great discussion. I really, really appreciate it. You did really well, I think. Thank you again, Easy. Um, when it comes to this whole idea, I think what I'm talking about, and I think we went through different areas. I tried to bring it back, and I think we actually got to some of the some of the problems that we can see in this position, especially when it comes to the against side is they're talking about the possibility of these putting people that are innocent through the process of death, and I agree that that is a possibility, but that doesn't mean that we cannot or we should shy away from the responsibility of the state to enact justice. In fact, it seems to me that they're actually telling us, hey, there is a problem here, and their solution is just to shy away from it instead of finding a proper solution. And the solution in my case is, yeah, I understand that there might be issues, but we have to be able to take those situations, make rail guards, and actually enact justice. There are cases, especially when I said there are things that are so heinous that they need to be dealt with, and we cannot have them anymore in society. And the way that you do this is by actually giving them the mercy of death, and it's a mercy for both sides. It's a mercy for them as the perpetrators, and it's a mercy of the victims because they have been victimized, right? And then we have the other side of it, which is the corruption. So you're trying to get away and reduce the amount of corruption, and the way that you reduce and get away from corruption is through enacting and acting in accordance to your duty. Is not shying away from it. I think my argument stands on its merit. I do hope everybody had a great time, and I will yield the rest of my time. Teriyak, sorry, I will I will yield the rest of my time. Speak easy. Thank you so much.
No problem, and thank you for that closing statement. With that, we're gonna hand the mic over to Tareyak for his 5-minute closing statement. Again, thank you both for being here. And chatters, if you want to get some last-minute questions in, we're gonna have a 30-minute Q&A. And super chats get priority. Like, so if we get past 30 minutes, we'll keep reading the super chats, but the Q&A questions won't get read. So if you want to make sure your question gets read, send in a super chat. Okay, it can even be a $2 super chat. It's whatever, right? But with that, Tareyak will hand you the mic, and whenever you're ready to start your closing statement, I'll start the timer up with your voice.
Yeah, so a massive shout out to Speakeasy for hosting the event. And again, I'm going to be raiding into to Easy now. So, like, everybody in my chat, like, if you want to get the questions in, make sure you get the donos in. Help my boy out, get that hashtag Griff game going, boys. You know, so yeah, like I said, I was a part of the prediction stuff. I was saying it could go down the whole kind of blood sporty debate, but also it could be kind of one of those productive conversations where it's like the tandem bicycle kind of thing. And like Emma was saying, massive shout out to Emma for like this conversation, because like this is what happens when it's like a discussion rather than blood sports. You know, like both people are kind of like pursuing like the aspect of truth, or at least trying to present their arguments in the good faith way. I think we both done a good job of doing that. And like I said, in terms of my aspect, it's like there's a lot of nuance to it, but in terms of like the general critique of like anyone who's against the death penalty is just a pussy, whatever. It's like, no, bro, we can go psychotic with it as well if you want. Like there are options on the table. I like to talk about options. You know what I'm saying? So like in terms of the kind of the back and forth here, I think, like I said, with Emma, I completely agree. I think like his argument stands on his merit, and I think my argument stands on his merit as well. And other than that, make sure to like and subscribe. And yeah, thank you for hosting. Easy.
And thank you for your closing statement, Tareyak. And so for that, now we're gonna get into the 30-minute Q&A. Before we start the timer up, though, I always like to ask a question of both sides before we get to the chat's questions. It's kind of just my way of letting each side give one more, answer to, a question maybe a chatter might have in their head, right? So, for the first question, it's gonna be this will be for Taryak's side here. If someone does commit like a heinous, like what Emmett brought up earlier, right? The kidnapping kids, women taking their babies, selling the organs, all like heinous, and they show absolutely no remorse. Do you believe that society still has the moral obligation to keep them alive? Like just picture the most heinous thing you can think of, and like, do we still have that moral obligation to keep them alive, and why?
Yeah, so that's when I say like, bitch, step into the battery pod. You being used as an energy source now. You know what I mean? So it's like, and a lot of people say that's psychotic or malevolent or whatever, but it's like yeah, when you're dealing with evil, it's like you got to be able to lend from Emmett's argument. It's like you got to be able to fight fire with fire. So it's like there are certain kind of like situations or outcomes that are far worse than just a simple death or like bullet or whatever kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? So like that's the kind of like counter I'd say to that argument, where it's like if you do have that like disgusting individuals, like there's a lot of outcomes for them that, you know what I mean, would let's say match their own intent or their own kind of actions. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. Emmett, do you want to answer to that?
Well, like I'm not completely like super against as the idea of using some people as batteries, you know. We're gonna go full blown psychopath, but I would say that I'm still duty bound to the idea of enacting justice and not like torture or anything that it would be to seem out of the realm of what is supposed to be good. And I don't think using a person as a battery is good, even though it's like a great idea, Tareyak.
Thank you very much. I'm an options kind of guy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when I say this shit,
Almost like it
I'm
was
just
in a
putting
movie
options-
somewhere.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
every time people bring up this stuff, I'm like, that seems like a plan. It's like-
And then so one more for Taryak's side here. If life imprisonment does cost more than just like execution in some systems, what would how would you justify to like the taxpayers that like that burden, like that they still have to pay for the like more cost of life imprisonment, like back to the heinous person we're talking about?
Yeah.
How do you
We tried to do it,
justify
yeah.
it to the like the burden that's put on the taxpayer?
Yeah, because like I said, the let's say the devil on the shoulders whispering in your ear about the human battery kind of concept. What would be the angel kind of like the concept is what you're getting at. And like what I would say is that it's like if you truly believe in morality, if you believe in that objective concept, you would recognize that immoral actions like would cause you to lose your mind or it's like a negative mental state to be in. And like to leave that person alone in a room 24 hours a day, like they just get like a bit of food and a sustenance to keep them alive, but other than that they're just in a four like a square box or whatever kind of thing for the rest of their life. That is a far worse punishment, because all they have are they're just alone with their own thoughts and the actions and the memories of what they've done. So that's far more like I would say that's more justice than knowing that it was just kind of like it's over with and like they're basically gone, as well as because like in a situation that I'm like, because usually like a mass murderer, let's say, would be get the death penalty, but like there's already been so many blood spilled, so many lives lost, like adding one more to it to me is just like adding more and like more lives to the loss kind of thing. Whereas like I said, like having that person sit alone with just them and their thoughts, because like imagine like there's a lot of people that it's like even just like having conversation with them is torture, like the Furby, like even just like bro, do you know what I mean? But imagine like being stuck like that, like imagine like Furby, like that's why Furby's even willing to go to these panels that like just like shit talking all this kind of shit, because like they don't want to be left alone with their own thoughts. And like that's my counter, you know.
Okay. And Emmett, did you want to answer to that?
Well, it's for me, it's very simple. I don't want them tortured. It's not about that. It's about justice. So sometimes a bullet is more just, and I said it's more of a mercy to the people that were their victims. Also, it's a mercy to the person that heinous acts. So we're talking about justice, and it will be like mercy.
All right. All right. So this one's for Emmett's side now. If justice, right, is about like fairness, like justice being fair, like
Uh-huh.
how sorry.
No, you said that, huh?
Oh, okay. Sorry. So like how is it how do you justify a punishment that can't be undone in a system that does make mistakes? Like, so how would you explain that as fair? The part that like it can't be undone, that punishment.
Well, at that point, and I did prepare this part. It's like we have to accept the fact that we are not perfect and that we live in a place that is not that we're not under perfection. So there's always going to be, like say, cracks in the system, right? And our duty is to try to prevent them as much as possible. We have to still act in accordance to the duty of what we have to do. So in this case, justice has to be enacted, and I see the death penalty as part of the justice and the duties of the state, and shine away for it because there is we live in this fallen world is not is that part of that direction of duty is way more damaging in the long run to our society and to ourselves than if we actually do it, take accountability for the actions that we did wrong, and try to prevent them in the future.
All right, Tareyak, do you want to answer to that?
No, I think Emmett said it all.
Okay, based, and then so for Emmett's side, again, so I'm guessing too, by some of the things that were said, that like, do you, maybe I'll make sure first. Like, do you think that like deterrence is also a part of like why we should do the death penalty?
Uh, I do, but it's very hard to prove deterrence, especially when
Okay.
it comes to the arguments. I went through different places and tried to like get statistics and ideas from it. Um,
Hmm.
so I prefer what I did instead of going through full deterrence because it's kind of complicated, and the other part of it is when they the statistics that exist is one single country that is Singapore, and it's a little bit complicated to see how much it actually affected because we don't have the numbers from before it was enacted. We only have the numbers now, and the other ones are pretty much were Christian nations that had a lot that had it instituted, and then they pretty much deter it or it hasn't been instituted in a while. And even and my idea of it is we're not gonna see the effects on the population immediately. What we will see is like increase of corruption over time, and I can try to go for that, but there's a correlation causation probably
Yeah.
fallacy there that it's very hard to get over it.
Okay. Yeah, that answers what the question would have been following up. That like, is there any like clear, consistent thing that shows that the execution prevents it is or is a good deterrent compared to life imprisonment? But you answered the question I was gonna ask. Tareyak, did you want to answer anything to that?
Yeah, no, I think you kind of got the whole aspect of like it's a good kind of theory, but like how are we able to measure it, kind of thing, you know?
Mhm. I do believe that there is such a case, but again, it's very hard to prove it with numbers and with a solid case through a statistic. So I shied away from it, and I just went through to a different idea.
Fair enough. Yeah. All right, so now we're gonna get into the 30-minute Q&A here, chat. I'm starting up the timer, and we're gonna start here with the super chats. We got Planet didn't want to say anything, just showing support. $5 super chat. Thank you, Cap and Planet. We got a 20 comes in from Chris. Says just sending some small love. Gotta go farm chores. All right. Well, thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate that. And I hope your farm chores went and are going good. Couldn't send my question in super chat, but I believe you sent your question over here into the Q&A. So let me open up the Q&A for Kokomo here. Kokomo, I don't see your question in the Q&A. Are you sure you put it there? Drop it in the chat again for me, Kokomo, and I'll highlight it right now. Just I'll highlight the next one for now, and I'll get right back to yours. Just put it in the chat again for me because I don't see it here for some reason. Crucible Crusader for $5 says, no question, just want to thank these two gentlemen for a good debate and Speakeasy for hosting. Thank you, sir. And yeah, it was a really good debate, actually. Um, it went just as good as I thought it would, actually. We got here. Let me look and see if all good. You asked it anyways. Oh, I asked it. Oh, okay. Well, W for me then, I guess. Okay, we got Spyro coming in for $10. Says, question for Emmett. Is the necessity of death penalty inclusive or exclusive of victim wants? Example, someone 404s a child, parents forgive the perp and ask for no death penalty. Do you still enforce it?
I would say that there is I would see it case by case in these kind of cases, but I would mostly agree with the spirit that if the victims are asking for clemens, I think clemens should be given.
Okay. And do you have anything for that, Tareyak?
But yeah, like that. That's kind of like a certain aspect to it where it's like where we drawing the kind of like duty back to kind of the influence of like like you were saying the victims there and certain outcomes like that. That's why, like I say, the like it sounds fucked up, like, but truth is objective, but it's not static. It's not unchanging. It's in flux. It's constantly changing, and like that example there, like with more details and more knowledge, more information. That's how powerful information is, gentlemen. Like that situation is a perfect example of where it's like no, like we call it clemency. Like no, there's no point of losing an additional life over this. Do you know what I mean? The event was so tragic as it is. Let's not go take another life. You know what I mean? You're muted. Easy for speaking.
You're muted. That's true.
It has to happen at least once, right? It just has to happen at least once. Thank you for the answer. We got Kat here says no questions here. GG guys, free the green bird.
There's no green bird. Just letting people know. Jesus Christ.
And thank you for that, Kat. Yeah, I think the birds were here for the opening statements, and then they wanted to let Emmett take over after. Okay. We got another 10 comes in from Spyro. Says, question for Tareyak. If we could quantify numbers where, for example, for every 2,000 that were penalized per year, 10 of them were innocent, but all crime reduced by 3 times, would that be acceptable?
Mm-hmm. It's always the nerd that has like the good questions. You know what I'm saying? This is my best Spyro impression. Okay, I'm going to do the Spyro for the rest of the chat just because he's done the question and don't know. Shout out. But yeah, the whole aspect is a really good question in terms of like the cost of doing business. Like that would have been like a counter that I was kind of like expecting, and like this is just the cost of doing business, baby. This is justice or whatever. But I'd argue, and like you have this whole quote. I forgot which one it was, but this whole thing of the revolution, it's basically the blood of the patriots and the tyrants. You know what I mean? When you have that revolution. So like this whole aspect of death penalty, all this kind of stuff. It's a tough call. Like I'd say in terms of the and I think Emmett was kind of hinting at this as well, where he was kind of saying like in terms of the overall good, like the innocent life, like if we take like the people that suffer crime, like because like the issue here is that it's like you're trying to control behavior through policing, which is then it goes down the path of like thought crime and all this kind of stuff. But I'd have to say no. Like I still think that 10 innocent people like being put to death, that like that's still not a number for me. Like I think I have to bite the bullet on this the same way like people who are like anti-abortion are like no, it starts conception and just dig the heels down. So that's my answer. And I'm sticking with the cop. Okay, I plead the fifth. Okay.
That's fair. That's fair. Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, that's why I
Emmett?
didn't use it, because I see this as a utilitarian question. So I'm not an utilitarian. I believe in duty, and I think that the idea of duty is way more important than the idea of the utilitarian perspective when it comes to this. That's why I didn't pose the question, but it is a very usual question that is done in this kind of debates.
Yep, fair enough. Next one comes in from Cap'n Planet. Question for Spyro: did you use AI to generate those questions? The trick is, Cap'n, he is AI. That's the whole thing.
That's the plot twist. Kaiser so saying all y'all.
We got another 10 coming in from Chris, and thank you. Does the death penalty exist in war?
Yeah, so like that'd be kind of my thing. If you want to say that, like what I would say is pulling an Adam Dole and saying like, oh, like military's redistribution of wealth. Fuck that shit. Like if war is quote unquote the death penalty, nah, it's a completely different concept, bro.
It is a different concept, but I did include it as part of the argument because if the government has the power to use to declare war and kill people, then it has the power to kill people at the end of the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And then one more super chat comes in from Cleaner for $10. Says, is justice personal or societal? Under which framework should laws be determined? Since AI is bloodthirsty, should we make AI push the button for executing justice so no human has to bear that weight? So it looks like there's a couple questions there, but you guys got some time if you guys want to go into this.
I can go with. I'm gonna give my answers real quick. So, justice is justice is not personal nor societal. Justice is the idea of putting things in its proper place. You can see it in a personal matter and also in a societal matter. So it's both in a sense. It's not none. It's not one or the other. It's both. Under which framework should laws be determined? It's not about. For that question, I would say that under the society that it's under. So the framework will always depend on the society because they are the ones that will make the enaction of said laws. And then the last one, I see AI doing anything like this as their election of duty because we are human. We have to be the ones that are doing the action. Otherwise, it loses the weight that it needs to have so that people take it as seriously as it needs to be.
Yeah, and
okay, yeah.
in terms of my one, like this is the crux of it, where again, like with Spyro, like the both questions he asked was kind of like addressing both kind of arguments, both on Emmett's side in terms of the duty, kind of saying, okay, if the victims say it's like that kind of goes against the duty, and then in terms of my one with the utilitarian, like, well, technically this is good odds or whatever in terms of like overall outcome, etc., etc. Like that's basically where we're kind of like looking at it. So because I think in terms of both things we kind of shifted, but in terms of this, that's where it's like there is that sense of like the mob justice, and like that would be like society's justice, but just because it's mob's justice does not necessarily make it right. That's why I brought up the global warming and the perpetrator's house is all of a sudden getting very hot. So like in terms of the personal aspect, like the reason why you ought to do it is because you would lose the will to live. Like you would become demoralized to the point where you'd lose the will to live. We got into that with the self-deletion as well. So in terms of like, this is why we're starting to see the technocracy and all this kind of stuff. So in terms of societal, if we want that objective, like unchanging apparently position, then that's the implication. It's going to come down to technocracy. And if the cards are on the table where death penalty is up for grabs in that situation, a quote unquote objective situation, and I know Spire was pulling his hair out with things, it's not motherfucking objective, it's biased. Yeah, I understand Spire, but in terms of like that concept, if you just meet a certain criteria, even though like in terms of like a human's like rationalization, like this would not be the case. Even the AI and Spire would argue wholeheartedly, and I hope he hops on panel to argue this, that like even the AI would be capable of a mistake. And as the comment mentioned as well, it's very bloodthirsty and all this kind of stuff as well. So that's why I'm saying like the dangers are there, and that's why I'm cautioning where it's like, as in terms of like the principles that we're setting, that like this would be the outcome, but knowing that mob justice is a thing, and like what they do is, hey, is not, as they say, or what happens isn't what, like
what should
happens in
happen
the physical, yeah, kind of thing.
yeah, what happens is not what should happen. But the idea of a should would be the actions that we take should go towards what should happen.
All right. Oh, and we got another one coming in from Cleaner for 10. Says, Emmett, if justice is neither and or both, why should society enforce it and force a person to carry out the execution? A should of the moral framework is necessary to know where our laws come from.
What I mean by it's neither, it's well, I wouldn't say neither. It's both. It's societal and individual. I misspoke at the beginning. I apologize for that. Why should force a person to carry out the execution? Well, people have to do all sort of things in their work, and they should do it because it's their job. So if you don't want it, that job, don't take that job. That would be the answer to the why should a person be forced to carry it out. But let me go back into this. Why should society enforce it? The reason why is because the state, as I stated on my argument at the beginning, has the power and the jurisdiction over the people, including all the way to death. And since justice is part of its proper um, of what it should do, it has to be able to enact the death penalty. Otherwise, it will be derelict its duty. Like you have to be able to enact it in cases where it's either attacking the government itself or it's something so heinous that it cannot be accepted in society. That would be the reason why.
All right. And did you have anything to say to that, Tareyak?
No, just very well said by Emmett.
All right, based. And I think that's it for super chats, and we still got some time here, so I'll move over here to the Q&A. First one that came in the Q&A. How about we hold the people who make the death penalty liable to the same fate, Tareyak? I.e., the officials have to make absolutely sure the evidence is infallible.
Yeah, so like that's what I'm saying in terms of like the principles set forward, or like it all sounds good in theory. It's like the same thing with like the I brought up global warming. It's like, yeah, like we need to protect our environment. It's like, yeah, but how much like how are we going to enforce that? How are we actually going to pay for that? How are we going to actually like implement this? And like I point to like time and time again throughout society since it's been existed. This is why Emma was bringing up corruption. It's like it goes through cycles where it's like the golden age, the silver age, the bronze age, the degenerate age. And we're basically in the degenerate age. I would argue we could even get worse before it gets better, but the whole concept of like the storm and all this kind of shit. But like the whole aspect here is that if you're kind of saying you're okay with the state having the death penalty, you're necessarily going to be executing innocent people. And to me, I don't think that should be something that the state should or we should accept from the state. You know what I mean? Although, like I said, I understand that there's the Mont rule, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean?
Okay. Emmett, you got anything you want to add?
Just to be sure, he was saying that we have to
Test.
have. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I believe that he was saying that we have to pretty much put the people that made the death penalty to trial and have the evidence to be perfect. Is that the question, or am I getting it wrong?
So the way the question was asked is like the officials, like how about we made it so that the officials have to make sure like absolutely the evidence is infallible that the person did the crime and before we actually do the death penalty.
Okay. I think that's a very easily defeated position. We have to accept the fact that there's gonna be cracks in the that there's always gonna be something that is not gonna be perfect. We cannot make it perfect. That's the idea. So we're gonna see evidence and we're gonna try to do it to the best of the ability. And there's always gonna be questions that are not gonna be answered. And if you don't are honest with yourself that there is these kind of situations that will happen, we cannot even go into a good faith debate. So that would be my answer to that.
All right. Thank you for that. Our next, or that, by the way, that was from Drop TF in the chat. The next one comes in from Rev Russ. Question for both debaters. How do you define the sanctity of human life, and how does that definition apply respectively to the guilty, the victim, and society as a whole? So I guess whoever wants to answer first.
Yeah, so like I'd tie it back to value. Um which again, like I'd point towards like there'd be a lot of, let's say, evil people, but like there would have been made contributions or whatever to science, and just because someone's an evil individual, it doesn't negate the fact that they're saying 2 + 2 = 4. That doesn't mean that that's wrong. You know what I mean? And like the I think a lot of confusion happens because right and wrong has that double barrel meaning in terms of like technically true versus morally true. You know what I mean? So like in terms of the in terms of that aspect, like I said, I'd have to kind of tie it back to like value in terms of that objective sense, and then that's how I'm measuring it, and that's why I was kind of talking about it in terms of like the human battery kind of aspect. There's like, if you're able to harness the energy of that individual, I'd rather that than just end the life kind of thing. But yeah, like that's pretty much how I tie it back to his value. Just try and give a short and sweet answer.
All right, and Emmett?
I would tie it up directly to Christian ethics in my end. It's like we have a value that's endowed to us by our Creator. So we have a specific way of looking at who we are and our ontology, and that's where I would say that there is like the sanctity of human life. Doesn't mean, in my case, doesn't mean that there is no ways of putting yourself in a situation after a whole bunch of things that you've done to yourself, in which justice has to be enacted on you, and you've lost a little bit of that grace that's given to you. But at the end of the day, it's like the soul is the idea that we're trying to preserve, even in death, right? We're trying to preserve your dignity when you have done some kind of act that is so heinous that you cannot be longer into society. That's why I called it a mercy on you, and that's why I called it a mercy on the victims too.
All right, thank you for that, and thank you for the question, Rev. um, our next one comes in from Elder Lion. Question to Emmett: where are the secret birds? We all know you are hiding them.
There's no secret birds, but you can catch one of the super drama streams that I've been making, where you just see the birds for a while, because that is the way to go.
Bird fights.
Bird fights. We're gonna call it.
Bird
That's
fight
a
club.
good one. I'm gonna have the next one is gonna be called the bird fight.
Bird Fight Club. Don't talk about Bird Fight Club.
What happens in bird
You gotta
fight?
mix,
Stays in
you
bird
gotta mix it up
fight.
though, Emmett.
Yeah.
Like do one stream where it's just the bees, and then you can have the birds and the bees stream. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We got another one. Thank you for that, Elder Line. We got another one coming in from Spyro. Tareyak: do some people die in prison as a result of internal murders, or even during arrest, due to mistakes being made? Due to mistakes being made during the arrest process. Why is that different than the death penalty?
Yeah, great question, Spyro. And like I said, I'm going even more in depth in terms of like the Spyro aspect. So the point where I can barely even see. But yeah, like my whole dynamic to it is that's what I'm separating, and that's why I gave the analogy of person breaking into the house and then me chasing them down the street. So in terms of those situations, one could argue that the person's life was at risk, or could have been at risk if they didn't take that action on stuff, and that's why it's oftentimes very difficult to distinguish this, particularly when you're trying to apply like an abstract principle of like law and all stuff to a real life situation like that, in terms of emotions and all that stuff, like blood pumping, adrenaline, all this kind of stuff, the impact of the situation. So I like obviously like those murders or those killings happen in the prison, but in terms of like the differentiation is because it's there, right there in the moment where there's a threat present. So in terms of like neutralizing the threat, that's why I could see it as well. Like part of neutralizing threat could mean death. But when I'm talking about like ultimate principle for or ultimate power for the government, I don't think that because you have that risk of the innocent life, when there's no threat that's there, because you have like a public court case, there's public people and thing watching it, all this kind of stuff as well. So if you're able to maintain that situation where like peace is maintained, then I don't see the need to then go to the death penalty essentially.
And did you want to answer anything he said there, Emmett?
Well, I don't see a huge difference. That was one of my arguments, is that I see the state being able to enact force all the way to death. Anyway, it's just that in one case we're talking about the capacity of the justice, and the other one is just the capacity of enforcement. But I think if it has the capacity of enforcement all the way to death, it must have it in justice as well. Like I believe that it's part of the. It's like I'm giving the argument that if it has it on one side, it must have it on the other side too.
All right. And oh, bumped himself up here, Cleaner, with another $10 super chat. Thank you, Cleaner. If justice is determined by the societal construction, but you did not give a should for the moral framework, you are saying people who may not have one you agree with decide what justice and laws are.
You are saying people who may not have one, you agree with, decide what justice and laws are. This is true in all cases. This is an is thing. It's not a. It's not a. It's not has to do with the moral framework. So if you can see that there are a ton of different states. All of the different states have laws. All of the different states have degrees. I wouldn't even say degrees. All of the different states have force doctrine and will do the enforcement of the laws, and they can use different moral frameworks. In my case, when I was talking in this specific debate, I was using the American framework, which has to do with Christian ethics, and I think that would be the preferable way of constructing a government structure. That's what I don't give. That's what I don't like give you a moral should for like the government. I think the government is a representation of the moral framework of the society it emanates from.
Yeah, like you're basically saying like that you have a dogma or an axiom essentially, that you're saying like this is true, that like this is a duty of the government, and like from that principle that's what like should be enforced. Whereas
Well,
like
yeah,
Cleaner saying it's like, oh, like but it's a social construct. It's like, yeah, technically everything's a social construct, but that's like saying with the hair Clyde, it's like, oh, you can't even step in the same river once. You're just basically a strong man in the position. We were both saying like earlier on, because like that's what I was saying to Emma, like I don't accept that as or I don't accept that axiom or that dogma, and that's what the disagreement essentially was.
hmm
But like in my explanation, I'm specifically saying in terms of the should of like why you should do that. Like I point towards like objective reality, objective truth, and objective morality more importantly in this, because I can recognize that demoralization is a thing. And in a society where a society that's demoralized is a society where justice is not functioning on a societal level. Which,
yeah,
like I said, like the reason why you ought do certain things and you ought not do other things is because if you keep doing the things that you ought not do, then you will demoralize yourself and you will lose the will to live. So, in terms of society functioning as cohesive, if there's no justice, the society will become demoralized and bad things will happen.
yeah, yeah. I can see that. The just to finish it off, like I understand your criticism on that one. Like you're trying to reject it. I'm just giving that description of the ease because the government is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it exists, so it is in this case.
All right. And then another bumped up one from our neighborhood asshole Daniel Zan. Emmett, do you and Claudia Scheinbaum go to the same synagogue? Who is Claudia Scheinbaum?
It's
Why does this name sound familiar?
it's the president of Mexico, and no, I'm Christian, so
Oh.
it's the Jewish president of Mexico that does pagan rites in the middle of Mexico. Yeah, that one. No, I don't. I don't go to synagogues. I am a Christian.
There's your answer, Daniel. I knew the name sounded familiar. I just couldn't. I didn't know who that was here. Our next question here. On the edge with Marte Reyes. If you had your way and there was no death penalty, I'm guessing this is for Tareyak, Would you support Christ never being crucified?
Well, yeah, like that's the whole dynamic that was brought up with me and Emmett with the whole thing of like without the death penalty, Christ wouldn't have been executed. But like Emma was saying, it's like, but this is a fallen world, and it's like without the death penalty, Christ wouldn't have been executed, which wouldn't have started the kickstart the revolution and Christianity becoming what it was. But like that's what I would argue, where it's like in terms of the promised land is a land where we don't have the death penalty. You know what I mean? So in terms of like what we should aim or guide towards in terms of society, it should be one that doesn't have the death penalty. You know what I mean? Because otherwise you'd be petitioning to keep the fallen world as it is, rather than changing it into the promised land.
Well, what do you think about that, Emma? You want to comment or?
Yeah, my claim was we wouldn't be saved, right? Because the sacrifice was for the salvation of our souls, and I think would be way too arrogant for me to think that I can have the perfect promised land on earth in a fallen world. I would call people to be a little bit more humble on their approach to the world and to understand that we will live in the society that we live on and the world that we live on. And even though we're not of this world, because we're called for something greater, that we have to understand where we are and that we have duties to our society and our kids and our wives and all of the people that live with us. So that's where we are moving towards, specifically in this world, and we are hoping for better.
I have a count to that. What I would say is, ooh, baby, do you know what it's worth? Ooh, heaven is a place on earth. It's because of the karaoke, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can't. As for
And
that
it
one,
looks like that might have been the last question in the Q&A. And I don't see no more for super chats either. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. And okay, so looks like that's it for questions. So let me just get rid of this for a minute. So that means we're gonna wrap up the Q&A portion of the debate here. So are both of yous staying for the open panel?
I will, but I need to just get some water.
Oh yeah, well that's perfect, because like what I'm gonna do right now is first off, huge thanks to you both for coming and debating. Um, Everybody in the chat needs to give big respects to both debaters. Again, every time I tell you, whether you agreed or disagreed, it takes courage to come up here, hold your ground, and test your ideas in front of a live audience. You know. So make sure you give respect to both debaters. Go show them some love in their chats. Also, huge thanks to everyone who sent in questions, whether it was on the Q&A, super chats, cash apps, all of that. Thank you, and every bit of that support helps us keep the show running and make all of these debates possible for you. What we're gonna do is we're gonna roll the debate outro. It runs about like 3 minutes. That'll give the debaters, chat, myself, quick breather before we open up the Chaos and Chill panel. During the outro, I'll drop the link for anyone that wants to join the panel. Everyone welcome to come up, but just a heads up, if you're joining the panel to try and like bring up drama, to try and troll, spurg over everybody, you're gonna get muted and probably booted really fucking quick. So if that's your goal, just know the ending is inevitable. All right. And if you're enjoying what you've seen tonight, make sure you subscribe right here to this channel as well, so you don't miss more debates just like this one every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. All right. Stick around. We're going to roll the outro. Once the swords go down, the real chaos begins. All right. And you are watching Sword of Reason on the Speakeasy Show, where logic meets passion and the conversation never ends. All right? We'll see you guys right after the outro.
Step into the circle where the echoes collide. Truth through the static, no place to hide. Iron tongue, sharpened fire in our breath. We dance with conviction on the edge of death. Your words are bullets, mine are storms. Ideas forged where lightning forms. No retreat, no treason. This is the season. We clash our swords of reason. Cut through lies with steel precision. No faith, no fear, just raw collision. We clash our swords of reason. Facts burn brighter than a prophet's flame. Egos crumble, but the truth remains. Every scar, a mark of thought's crusade. In the battlefield of minds we've made. Speak your truth, but bear the cost. Every claim can still get lost in the war of voice and vision. Feel the friction. We clash our swords of reason. No silence left for indecision. Ideas break with loud precision. We clash our swords of reason. Strike me with logic, I'll plead my proof. We cut through chaos to carve out truth. Let the sparks fly, let the echo scream. This is no debate, it's a metal dream. We clash our swords of reason. In the storm of thought's collision. Forged in fire, pure precision. We clash our swords of reason. Reason bleeds but never dies. No surrender, no retreat. In the war of words, we find a beat. Swords of reason. Oh.
And we're back. Oh, let me fix that. There we go. There we go. Welcome, Mo and Spiral.
What's up, guys? Enjoyed the debate.
Hello,
It
how you
was a
doing?
good
I
one.
love Spyro's background.
Yeah,
Spyro is
you're muted, Spyro.
it's perfect.
You're muted, by the way, bro.
I have no idea what you're talking about, fellow humans. Everything is perfectly fine. Let's.
Are you doing some
I
art?
don't get it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you make that with AI?
No.
How much Portuguese
No.
did you need
No,
to use?
he made it with some clankers.
You guys are triggering me. I'm offended, and I find this to not be a safe space. So I don't.
Hey, so Tareyak, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to the debate, and you mentioned at one point that in cases of particularly heinous crimes, basically instead of the death penalty, you would sentence them to solitary confinement and then use them as a battery, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, let's say that was a reality.
Okay.
There's been many studies on what happens to people when they're in solitary confinement. And then if you add the battery component, then that is some form of torture, right? But if you were for that, one of your other points was you don't want to do the death penalty because potentially innocent people who would later be found innocent would be released.
Mm-hmm.
The person that would go through that type of punishment, they would potentially be broken. They could go crazy. There's been people who've unalive themselves from coming out of such things. So to be consistent, wouldn't you have to even say, even in that scenario, they should still be alive and just basically in a normal prison?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful question, Mo. And like I said, the counter is like look at what was it, like Green Mile?
Yeah.
Like if you have the death penalty, there like someone's job is going to be to kill someone. You know what I mean?
Right. No,
I'm the
I'm
dude
speaking
that
towards
lowers
the I'm speaking
Yeah,
towards you would even have to be for in that scenario. I'm not talking about the death penalty. I'm saying
Mhm.
that you would have to say no. We shouldn't do the battery thing. We shouldn't put them in solitary because if they are later found innocent, when they come out, they could be potentially completely broken and never the same again.
Yeah, but then that's when like I done an earlier debate which check out, and it's like this is why like people say like Tareyak, you do kind of weird and goofy topics. Like no, it all links because in that in the drug legalization thing, I specifically brought up psychedelics in terms of a way of like shattering the ego or breaking the mind or resetting the mind, so then it can go forward. So that would be a solution possibly towards that.
Yeah, you would just put them in drugs. That's a solution.
You just drug them up.
You just drug them up a little
Yeah.
bit.
Put them on
I'm just saying.
hospice care, basically. Sorry, you're found innocent. Here's some hospice care so you can be in a drug and stupor until you die.
Yep. Magic mushrooms are one of the safest drugs out there, safer than smoking and alcohol. Just saying.
I don't know. I just thought like it sounded a bit of a counter to your other point because given the reality of what that would be,
You know, like the human battery thing is, it's like you look at like any dystopian futuristic movie. It's like that's basically what they're doing to humans. They look at them as just like slaves, as like energy sources to achieve whatever, quote unquote utopian, which is really dystopian, purpose they want. But like I'm saying, like that's just kind of like one aspect that we can like view into this. And like I said, I'm an options guy. You know what I mean? But in terms of like the general thing that I look at is like that sanctity of life, and in terms of like the value of life. That's why I tie it back to value. And in terms of when you're looking at value, in terms of energy sources, that's one aspect to it as well. But I would agree it's like quite psychotic in terms of like the thing. But that's why I gave the analogy of like there's the demon versus the angel. I'm just saying it's like no, because the innocent life is going to be taken, and there's going to be innocent people that are going to have to be murdered, well, not murdering but killing people. And then on the flip side to it as well, like I said, you have that kind of like both scales to it. Both the devil and the angel would say, nah, don't do the death penalty.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like for the debate in general, my opinion, I still struggle with this subject. Right, I go back and forth, and it's a point that I'm gonna have to sort out sooner or later. But it was a very interesting debate. You both made very good points.
100%. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you guys did great. I thought it was a good debate. I'll just run down. I don't have a lot of time, so I'll just run down just a couple of questions, and I'll step off, and you guys can go for it. So Emmett, the question that I asked earlier about whether or not the victims had a say in whether the enforcement of the death penalty was actually enforced, kind of undoes the duty, which is kind of what Tareyak was pointing to. Because if it's a duty, then it would be exclusive of the wants of the victims. It would be something you would do as a result of the action taken by the perpetrator. So how do you square that together?
That would be the default of, but I will take into account the wishes of the victim, because they are the ones who have been wronged in the situation. So in this case, it would be the default of the way that the government would work by default is, in these cases, they would take action against the people. There's specifically in cases where the victim cannot speak, for example, they will default into that. If there is a case in which they can and they asking for clemency, I would I'm saying I a lot when I'm not the government, right? But I would see as the government having clemency as a way forward. But it has to do with my ethical framework of Christianity. So
Okay, so I just want to make sure I got that right. If you were able to choose, like, you get to say whether this is like a thing that the government gets to do, you would allow for the possibility that the victims, whoever they may be, have a say to adjust that enforcement so that enforcement doesn't actually get enforced in some cases.
they will be able to ask for clemency for the life of the perpetrator, and I would take that into consideration when it comes to the final action of the state, right?
Okay,
but that is a clemency to the victim from the state. It's not a clemency to the perpetrator by the state. It's an accountant of the victim. Like we're giving the victim a say for purposes of taking their wishes into account.
Right. Okay. So it's just it's an escape from the default position. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Tareyak. So when I was bringing up the example of like somebody's in prison and they die in prison, it happens sometimes. People like murder each other in prison because things go crazy, right? What is the yeah, can you explain to me why you're okay with the imperfections of such a system as it exists today? Because you know that there is a positive outcome of enforcing these kinds of rules and laws, placing people in dangerous positions, even innocent people who might end up dead through these kinds of enforcements. But suddenly you stop at the death penalty, making the exact same case that you otherwise accept in every other case.
Yeah, so like the difference for me is that aspect where the individual situation itself, because like that's why I gave the analogy of like running out of the house, like that to me is just like that's not self-defense on the stuff. So the fact that it's like people get shanked and all this kind of stuff, like criminals are going to break the law anyway. So no matter what law I put in place, they're still going to shank someone, or they're going to deal with someone, or they're going to like have their own like prison rules or whatever. So in terms of like what I'm saying is like, and that's why I was drawing the distinction, whereas like I understand Emmet's position fully well. A lot of global warming happening in Ireland, folks. I'm just saying. But in terms of the principle itself of the prison rules, they're just gonna make up whatever rules they want. Whereas like as society, I think we should aim ourselves towards a system where we take that like innocent people being killed by the state. Like we should not have a system that's a possibility in.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, that's it. That's all I got time for. I just wanted to run that down. I speak that was awesome. You guys did great. That was a really good debate. You guys were very gentlemanly and sportsmanlike. That was good.
Spyro, if you guys were serious in Rob's chat, I have no problem hosting a fucking nerd topic debate.
No, EOD and I have been DMing each other. We are dead serious. We want to fight over
What's the fight, Spyro? What's the fight? What's the fight?
Which Zelda I guess version, I don't know what you want to call it, but which Zelda game is the best Zelda game? That's where it's at right now. We'll figure out the problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
we're gonna have a proper nerdy. And EOD and I are friends. He's a good guy, but we both said that we're not going to hold back on this debate. Your mom fat jokes on the table. You're an idiot.
No. When you get in the table. Even if you're brothers, if you get in the ring of combat,
you got to go for it.
The fist must fly, bro. If you
hold back, it's because you go harder.
Yeah. Well, all right, bud. All right. Let's see. Oh, okay. So you got all the hair, none the suit. All right. So. We have a talk.
Nerd debates sound like a hell of a lot of fun.
Actually, like,
wait till you see Halloween, though. We'll see who's got the suit.
Oh, dude, I'm waiting to shave, bro. I'm just waiting to shave my head. I'm gonna show up as Bruce Willis without a mental impeding
But
illness.
which Bruce Willis? Like, is it Die Hard Bruce
Need
Willis?
another
Or...
debate for that. Now, no, save it for another
Back
debate.
with
Bruce
vengeance.
Willis is the best one.
I think it'll be fun either way.
Yeah.
Takanomi Powers ain't got shit on me.
See?
But yeah,
Anyways.
I'm not above hosting nerd debates. Like someone was like tried asking me like, would you do theology debates? Fuck yeah, we're doing an evolution debate next week. Chris right here is gonna be going up against Planet Peterson. Yeah, I want to
Great.
bring the best of all debates. You know, it doesn't need to be politics only or stuff like that, right?
I appreciate it,
Yeah.
Speak, because I know
Well,
these things aren't like number pullers. Like I said, they're not like you're going to get crazy
Go on,
numbers, but they're
Spyro.
fun to do.
Bullshit.
And all the other nerds are going to enjoy watching EOD and I go at it over
Spiro,
Zelda games.
Spiro, you would be surprised with the nerd ones, dude. Sometimes,
maybe.
sometimes they'll get numbers, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
if we like if Speak did a lot of like advertising, like, hey, have you ever seen two nerds to actually have a formal structured debate over the best Zelda game with logic and stuff? Like,
Sorry, bro.
come
Spyro,
on.
think about this. Nerds debate each other for fun all the time, dude. It's one of the communities that love fighting the most. Might as well put that shit in a formal
Have you ever
structure
been in
and
a
have
Call
it
of
on
Duty
YouTube.
chat room? What are you talking about? Of course they like that game.
Yes, this would be an untapped market. Yes, full of mom jokes.
You want to know something crazy? Okay, I was playing Marvel Rivals. All right. I was in a chat room and I was shitting on one of the dudes on my team for how bad he was. Right. I was like, "Why are you even playing this game, you clown?" Like I was just shitting on him, and then he said, I forget what he said, and I was like, "Oh, that's a real good fucking logic you got there, buddy. Tell me another one." And he's like, "Oh, you're gonna get into logic? You've been watching Andrew Wilson, haven't you?" And I was like, "Well, actually, funny thing, Andrew Wilson's a friend of mine. You know." He's like, "What's your name?" And he's like, I just said Speakeasy, and he's like, "This is the Speakeasy?" I felt like I was famous for a second. I was like, "Yeah, it's Speakeasy." He's like, "No. Speakeasy's not playing video games right now." I was like, "Yeah, man."
That's great. That's great.
It was
I'm
crazy, dude.
I'm looking for
Punish or Blade.
But that's how far Andrew's reach is, right? Because this kid, well, he's probably about my age or a little younger, but this guy knew me because Andrew reaches so many different people that some random gamer knew who I was. I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool feeling, isn't it?
To the nerds.
Yeah, it was. I kind of felt famous for a second. I was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "I've never seen your stuff. I know Andrew, but I don't know who the hell you are. I just." Okay, boys. Look, I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to the EOD Zelda debate. You guys did great today. I thought it was fun. Thanks for the questions. I will step away. You guys have at it. I'll be lurking in the background. Thanks, folks.
Leaving is quitting, Spyro.
Have a good one, Spyro.
Leaving is quitting, Spyro.
Yeah. Shut up, Chris.
You leave, you lose, Spyro. Oh, you lost.
He lost.
So the reason I was asking so much and trying to get clarification on the moral frameworking is because whenever we're talking about the death penalty, that is the fullest extension of the law. That is the fullest extension of the justice system. You are ending a life. Your moral framework, your should claim for the moral framework, whether or not your is claim of what we do in society now is like just based off of our data and our construct here in the United States. Your should claim is what we get into when we say whether we should continue doing this action or not. Like that's why I get into why, like what your moral framework would be that you would want us to continue following. What moral framework you would want us to follow for enacting the death penalty. You understand? Did I frame it better?
Yeah.
Because Emmett's saying Christian ethics, and I'm saying the demon is like objective morality. Well, it's both kind of the same thing. But yeah, go ahead, Emmett.
No, this is the disconnection in when we're talking. You're talking about what is the framework in the system that we have now. But my argument is bypassing a little bit that. What he's saying is that government, as an easy statement, has the it already has the capacity of ending life, and it should be able to provide justice all the way to that point because it has jurisdiction over people's lives. And then if you don't do
Right.
justice all the way to that, you're causing corruption. That is the second part of or the second argument that is pretty much helping the other argument forward. And that's what I was not talking
Well,
about,
I
the
get
moral
that.
framework itself. But if we're talking about moral framework in how we're using it right now, I would say that that Christian ethics has, for the longest time, been able to reconcile the death penalty, and there's not been any problem in the way that that's been enacted throughout history.
Okay, so would you say we should continue following it?
Sorry, Cleaner, real quick. Our neighborhood asshole has to come in again. Ask Grandpa Cleaner to put his teeth in. We'd understand his argument better. Roast him back, Cleaner.
I don't know how the fuck I am a grandpa
Tell
yet
him he has
there.
a gay-looking little dog.
You know what? You know what?
What kind of man has a little dog?
Fucking Chihuahua-loving young boy.
Is it a squirrel or a dog?
I don't know.
I can't decide. I still never been decided. Is it a pheasant? Is it a squirrel? Like, what do these people walk? I literally asked this on my way to work. Literally today. No, I literally did ask this guy. He was walking his wife. He was like a 50-year-old bald dude with a gray beard. He's walking with, I couldn't tell, it was still twilight. In Canada, the sun doesn't rise until I'm already at work right now. Right? And I literally looked at him while I'm riding my little shitty bicycle. He's probably got some big pickup truck at home because I crashed mine, but it doesn't matter. I asked him, I was like, yo, is that a squirrel or a dog? He laughed and looked down at it. He didn't say a word, and he just said, I'm trying. The word I'm trying is like, he's just doing it for another. He loves his wife. I get it. He's an old man.
So I'm trying to be like charitable here because I think maybe you're just not understanding what I'm getting at with this, Emmett.
Okay,
what I'm saying is if between you and Tareyak, the rest of the entire world is going to make a decision based off of whether or not we use the death penalty, and you have to make a should claim. What moral framework would you give for our should claim? Maybe that'll make it easier for you to kind of like pick that out.
Can I point out a simple fact? It's not against or for anybody else's point, but dysentery happens like in an extreme amount inside publicly owned, governmentally owned, law-owned like prison system. Is people die of infections on an astronomical rate while they're in there for like a simple bag of weed in Canada, for example, which has happened. I know it's legal now, but it wasn't legal for a long time. But like refused treatment because they're in there because of the drug crime, and they're not in there for life, and they're not even in there for a D penalty. And they're refused medical treatment. They're refused pain additives
I got you, bro.
to like make it livable. They're only in there for a couple months. I know a guy who went in and cut his foot in the shower and got a type of it was a type of foot fungus, not athlete's foot. Anyway.
He just got his back infection.
He died because it wouldn't get antibiotic.
One sec, but what Cleaner's trying to get at with Emmett's
gangrene inside an open wound kills you.
I got you.
It's an infection of the blood.
Let Tareyak get. Oh, sorry. For real quick, Tareyak, let me just read this quick.
Himself.
Hold up, Triple G. Cheers. Hope evening is going well. Verna Desire, thank you for the $5 super chat. Appreciate that big time. And reminder to the chat, both the debaters of the main debate are in the description. Make sure you guys go to the description there and sub up to both of them. And also, because you guys kept requesting this for the after panel thing, I've decided I'll add one move, okay? If you want to kick someone off the panel, you got to pay $50. The main debaters are off limits. And if you want to bring someone back, it's $50. That's it. That's the only move we're doing, okay? So don't ask me to put any more fucking moves on these after panels because we're not doing any more. You can take someone out for 50, bring them back for 50, and that's your only options. All right, and we'll read every super chat, obviously. Sorry, go ahead, Tareyak.
Yeah, so like what Cleaner's trying to get at is in terms of like the frame, like what framework is Emmett using? Because like what I was saying is in terms of he's taking in terms of the axiom that like because we can do this, like this is because we can, and then in terms of the corruption, to prevent the corruption, we should make sure that we're enacting this, or we have this instilled or this understanding in terms of the government. But what Cleaner's asked for is like further clarification in terms of like the actual framework that you're getting this from. Because you're kind of saying, yeah, but Christian ethics, but there's plenty of Christians that would disagree with the death penalty, but follow Christian ethics. Do you know what I mean? So that's what Cleaner's trying to dig down to.
Well, but that's the thing was that, like Tareyak, you had said you would approach the objective morals, right? And I understand what that construct is. It's a little different. Most people don't really understand it whenever you get down to the baseline of like the drivers of life and whatnot. But I just wanted to get Emmett's actual position because he didn't actually clarify whether he was looking more towards like Christian ethics or towards whatever the world fucking says, which is what he was saying originally, which kind of sounds like my prescriptions or my preferences, right?
Not wearing
like
a
not
costume.
basing it off an objective standard of some kind. And that's why I was kind of asking, right?
Well, the moment I'm talking, I based it on when I was talking about the government, and when it comes to the idea of the government having jurisdiction over justice, I brought both. I brought philosophy, for example, the ideas of the Greek philosophers, which is where you get normally the some ontological claims, and Christian ethics. In both cases, we see that the state is given the jurisdiction over justice and the provision of justice. My position has to do with Christian ethics, and that's what I said when I have when I see the idea of Christian ethics, and I don't care about the claim of what people say Christianity is. I will go to a historical framework as well. So if I see the historical framework and I see the claims in Christianity, including the Old Testament, then I see that the state has power and jurisdiction over the people all the way till death. So that's where I'm basing the whole proposition.
That makes sense. I get that now. Yeah, I just wanted to get clarification because, like, if we're saying based off the societal construct, well, there are small groups within each of our societies that are Satanists and they believe in sacrificing people, and that's not necessarily a good thing in some of our viewpoints. You know what I mean? So I was like, because when you're talking about the law, something that a lot of people don't understand is justice is a conceptual understanding. It's a conceptual understanding based off of either your theology, your philosophy, or your religion. One or the other, or a mixture of them, right? And so religion tends to be a big one for those people who are actually religious, like who are participating in their religion. So whenever we're talking about laws being based off of a moral construct, that's what gives you your objective standard for what the morals are that you would prescribe the whole world hold. So it kind of makes a difference, you know, like which one you're kind of framing it under.
Yeah, but I give
a counter. Can I pull up the God's favorite ace real quick? Just 30 seconds. I'll be out, bro. I ain't trying to spurg or nothing. You know what I'm saying, big bro?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Just don't let them have their back and forth, and then you can speak. Yeah.
Oh no, that was it. I just wanted to get some clarification. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and say something. Yeah.
I respectfully, I think the point is moot. I'll give you guys a wild radical take right here. The concept of the death penalty is Luciferian because only God has the choice of handing out life or death. So we should pay for people to sit in a cell if they're evil. And I'm out. Love y'all.
All right. Thank you. Does anyone want to respond to that?
Well, we don't have to
just to give critique to my position, like, and to kind of piggyback off like what Cleaner was pointing towards, like when he was saying it's like, oh, like sacrificing the Satanists, sacrificing people. Like I don't think that's the generally good thing to do. But what if it was? What if like doing that led to things like cure of cancer, cure of like diabetes, cure of heart disease? What if it was like that was the case? That's when you like that's holding me my feet to the fire, because in terms of like utilitarian wise, it's like that would be a quote unquote better thing to do for society. You know what I mean?
Wouldn't better utility Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say real quick because I think Mo Rebuttal had something he wanted to follow up with. Patiently waiting over there.
No, go
and then,
ahead.
We'll go to Chris next.
Just something real
skip
quick.
my turn. Go
sorry.
them.
Just something real quick. I'm sorry.
Mo, you and then Chris. Oh, sorry.
Okay,
what,
well,
Emmett?
Something real quick, just to remind people that if you send the highest super chat of the night, you'll get a free pixel animated art by me, pixel animation art by me. So just to remind people, yeah, go ahead.
Yep. And so far the biggest, so like you're talking about like the biggest one at a time, right?
The biggest one you get
Not
today.
Like added up.
Yeah.
Okay, so the biggest one is from Chris Dealney here so far.
Yeah, it's
so everyone knows. So if you want the free pixel art from Emmett, you got to beat this.
Yeah. So just real quick, it was a question for Emmett. I heard a few times you said part of your argument for the death penalty is to get rid of corruption.
It's
or to not to root out corruption.
Yeah, it has to do with if the government is not doing its duty, it's corrupt. That's the point. So if you're not enacting justice to the way that it needs to be done,
can you expand on that? Like what do you mean by that? Like how does enacting the death penalty keep the government from being corrupt?
If the government has to be able to enact justice all the way to the logical conclusion of of the justice would be the death of the perpetrator. If it dereliects its duty of doing so, that would mean that the government is not acting in accordance to its duty, and that would be corruption. That is the argument.
But I can read you
the.
Isn't the duties of government subject to the populace that enacts it?
Yeah, but we're talking about it comes back to which framework of reference I'm using, right? So I was basing it on the idea of,
let's say, secular.
No, I'm not using that one. That's why. Just give me a second. Let me try to explain what is going on. I was basing on the idea of the American system in a sense. So I was telling, if you have a system that is based on Christian ethics, and then you have all of the duties of the system that needs to be done, what you will end up if you don't comply with the system is you will be corrupting it. If you have a system that is based on secularism, the same thing would happen. You have a bunch of duties, and if they are not doing the duties that the system is meant for, it will be a corrupt system. In my case, I would say that even secularist systems do the death penalty, and they've done it way more than any other system in the past century. So that would.
But in either system, the people are the ones that sets the duties ultimately.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That the government is not an ethical framework. It's not ethics in and of itself.
Right.
It's a reflection of the people.
It's an enforcement arm. So, if you have a populace that doesn't want the death penalty and they vote for it and they put and they enact that, then
I would say that
under your paradigm, would that you just have to go along with that too?
I would say that that's their election of duty, and the government would little by little get more and more corrupt, onto the place that it will either go into anarchy or it will bring back the idea of justice.
I guess maybe I'm just not getting how the two are so closely intertwined, like the corruption and enacting the death penalty. I guess I'm not seeing the connection.
Because the justice is, it's an is statement. Justice is the duty of the state. So it has, they have to be able to do it, and that includes the death penalty. It has to be able to kill.
Well, it doesn't have to include the death penalty.
No,
we just demonstrated. Well, we just demonstrated if you have a populace that votes for not have death penalty, then they don't have to do it.
It's a have to in the sense of what is the duty of the government. If it doesn't do it because the population is corrupt, then it would just bring more corruption.
I guess I'm still not seeing how that's a throughput.
I can send you the argument if you want to read them both, and then you can come to the conclusion. It's a formal argument, so you can go through each one.
I think that argument kind of bridges on. I mean, it definitely skirts the razored edge of the slippery slope fallacy, because you can have corruption, but it's not necessarily an entailment all the time, depending on the people that are involved in the system. And considering that, I would say morally, there are more good people than bad in the world. Like I said, I think you're skirting the razor's edge of a slippery slope fallacy with that
Like,
argument.
do you mind if I just like try to steal man your position real quick, Emmett?
Yeah,
Like what Emmett's but like what Emmett's trying to like entail is that it's like the more you limit government, the less it can do. And when you're in a scenario where government is actually the good guy and trying to prevent the bad guys from actually prevailing, if you're saying the government should never kill anybody ever, like like by necessity, the government has less things to do than the criminals, so the criminals can just kill the government.
well,
And the government's never going to like fire a shot back. Sorry, and that's what you lead down. But like that's what I'm saying. Like the steel man in your position is fundamentally that. It's like you're basically the government has to be able to have that on the table, like because deterrence was mentioned earlier on, but like just having that like as a tool or a weapon. You know what I mean?
I'm talking
Yeah,
more
go
of the way that we, because I mentioned two systems, right? I mentioned the Greeks and I mentioned the Christian ethics. So I'm trying to give the perspective from there, from that specific framework. Because if you say government can be anything, then I can agree because it's a social construct. So it depends on the people that it's under. But if if we're going from that specific framework, and I'm trying to give the idea of what it's supposed to do, because I don't agree that it can do everything or should be doing everything. But at least when it comes to justice, it is a duty of the state given by those two frameworks of reference. If that is the case, then it must be able to do justice all the way to the people that are in their jurisdiction. I understand the idea of the slippery slope. I would need to go through it with you, cleaners, so to actually see if that is the case in like a cross. I don't think it is the case. I can send you the argument and we can go through it another day. But it's more of a, I'm
Sure.
giving you the easy statement of what the government is supposed to be doing on those specific systems, and then I'm giving you entailments of those positions so that we get to the point of if the government is not doing its proper duty, then it's causing corruption. And I think that if you allow corruption to foster, more corruption will continue to fester. So you would not want corruption in your government.
I see where you're going with that. The thing is that I'm saying is like the percentage of people within any society, there's typically more people that will at least be neutral or adhere to the society than those that would go against whatever their construct is of government morals and ethics. Typically, not always. And when that changes, that government gets overthrown, and then we're back in the same boat where we have more people that are for it than against it. So it really does kind of, I mean, it really does kind of skirt the razor's edge of a slippery slope. I don't disagree that it can happen, that corruption will come up within a government system. We see it within ours, but I just think that like whenever you're talking about just the people at the top, maybe there's a small percentage that actually have nefarious intent, and the rest of them don't really know what their intent is, but they want to make money. I wouldn't call that a good intent, but I know they wouldn't say they necessarily have an evil intent, right?
I think we should go through it because I know what you're saying, but I'm not entirely sure what is
Sure.
the limit of the idea. So yeah, we will need to go through.
Well, I think the limit is whenever we get to the full extent of the law, because the government will frame the law based off of what we, the people, are telling it we want, or at least it
Mhm.
should. Now, that doesn't always happen in all governments. Here in America, though, we kind of have that democratic posed theoretical luxury that people believe they have. Um, but yeah, I would agree with you. It can be corrupted. I just think that our measurement of where we decide what we're calling corruption and what we're calling a lawful and justified government is something that comes down to our moral framework, our prescriptions for how we should live. And that's why I think it's so important that we have a moral framework, why the people have a consistent moral framework between the majority of people. Because when you lose the majority of people in your moral framework and the majority of the people are in a different moral framework, your government is no longer going to exist for your moral framework. They're going to exist for someone else's moral framework. You see what I'm saying? And that's kind of where you get into the weeds of laws changing for what for what the used to be dominant moral framework would consider morally and ethically right. And
I
this
think we
is
would.
why I think Tareyak makes the objective morality claim, because the objective morality is more about the human beings being able to survive and reproduce and continue thriving.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to
I
bridge
had
the
that point
gap.
towards
yeah,
yeah,
I
because
Bridge the gap between you two and your argument, because you were almost talking past each other when you were making the arguments. You know what I mean?
I don't think we
yeah,
talk past each other. I
but like
really
that's
think
what
we had like a good back and forth when it comes to the argumentation in both
yeah,
sides. And what I
Right.
understand the critique that you're giving me from the argument perspective. It's just that I don't know if it's entirely true that it depends on the majority when it comes to enforcement and when it comes to the way that we do things in society. Most of the time, we have a specific ways. Like there's gonna be like an like an upper echelon that's gonna be the one permeating the ideas behind them, and those are the actual
Sure.
ones that usually share the where we trying to share like the way of life and the world. So it's an
Right. Yeah.
interesting idea, but we will have to go through it more. I would need to actually ask you like questions about what the problems are, and then go point by point, because it's 7 points and two conclusions, right? So it's a little bit more complicated than just that.
I get what you mean. It would need a longer conversation than what I believe we'll have time for tonight. I understand what you mean.
I mean, we got time. Real quick, we got $5 from Daniel. Says, "Okay, chat. A little dog is still cooler than a weirdo flipping his cat." Right. Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah.
And then he said, for another $5, what the fuck is on Grandpa's shirt? Wait,
I'm
shirt?
gonna assume he's calling me grandpa because everybody always
I
calls me
don't
an
see
old man.
nothing
I
on your
don't know,
shirt
dude.
though.
I'm wearing a fucking gray V-neck shirt. There's nothing on it.
Yeah, I don't see anything on there.
I don't know.
I think he means your chest hair because, you know, people nowadays don't have any body hair.
Tenth man.
So.
10th man. 10th man.
chest
I have
hair.
a question for you, sir.
Man, you said specific. All right, go ahead. But you said if you're going to come up here and cause a ruckus, then don't come up. And then I come up, and now you're going to cause a ruckus.
No, Why would you assume I'm going to cause a ruckus?
I don't know your tone. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hear him out. Hear him out. Hear him out.
Hear me out. Yeah, it's a simple question. I just want some clarification.
All
Is
right.
it true? Is it true that you said?
Oh my God, are you serious right now?
Yes, I'm 100% serious. Is it true
you
that
have a
you
clip?
said what Andrew did was wrong, and that you would dig into Andrew and Rachel's life down to who they dated in high school? Is that true that you
Yes.
said that?
I said I would interview their high school girlfriend or whatever. Yeah.
Oh. And no reason, just
I'm a journalist. Yeah.
that's amazing.
This is Sparta! Spartans! What is your profession?
Go be a journalist somewhere else, my guy. Sorry, guys. I was waiting for him to talk because I have the clip of him saying that, and I thought he tried to deny it, but he didn't. So, yeah.
I never know where 10th man is going to take stuff. I've had some really good science conversations with him, but I understand that everybody has their contentions with each other, you know?
Anybody who says they're going to dig into the lives of my friends, of anyone, to be honest, but especially like my friends, yeah, fuck yourself.
There's
I'm not
absolutely
gonna do
no
it to you.
reason. There's absolutely no reason to go on digging for people in the past and try to make a ass of yourself. Like there's no good reason to do that kind of stuff, or even say that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people hold grudges and hold on to the drama of bullshit for too long. Like I've never really liked operating that way, with very few exceptions. That like, okay, there's a difference between having standards and holding a grudge. Having a standard, someone not operating within those standards and not like interacting with them, that isn't holding a grudge. That's they're not meeting your fucking standards, and that's fine. I don't see what's wrong with that. Holding a grudge would be like you're going after somebody still, or you still like anytime you're near them or in a space with them, you're just a contentious bastard towards them for no fucking reason.
And
You know?
I am huge on keeping personal and family life separate from what we're doing here. All right.
Yeah.
And if I find out there's people doing that sick shit, I want nothing to do with them. All right. I separate myself from them. I don't want to platform those type of people. You can go have your own little fucking goofy corner over there in the panelverse or whatever you guys, you know what I mean? I don't like that. Have no
Yeah.
reason for it. Right.
This breakdown in like our debate sphere, our conversation sphere has kind of happened here recently. This is kind of I've only seen it one other time that it was like this big, so to speak. You know, not necessarily saying it's like everything on the internet is all about this, but it's fairly big for the debate sphere we're in. You know, so
Ah, fuck it, Button. Why'd you have to go and make it gay? He just said you gave him what he wanted, though. He likes being punished by superior men. Come on. He just had to go there.
Gay!
Shit. So, okay, so from what I've heard, I'm guessing that both Cleaner and Mo, you are on the side of against death penalty, right?
No, not
Oh,
necessarily.
okay.
I'm trying to offer a refutation to Emmett so that he can kind of flesh out his claim a little bit better. I know what arguments I would make, but I would like to hear newer arguments and things like that. So I'm just trying to give him a little pushback so he can kind of build on his understanding and his side of the framework. You know, kind of like I do when you and I were going through arguing the whole judge thing and shit. And now I agree with you on it. It sounds really good now.
That's what's up.
Yeah, he was
But
trying to.
Mo, then you are on the opposite side?
I think he's going for water or something.
He might have got up to take a leak.
Yeah. Yeah.
I seen Chris was up here and then he dropped down. What happened?
I think he had to go. I don't know.
Oh,
Maybe.
okay.
He might have had a power outage too, not sure.
Oh, that's true. He could have done that. James Spresak says, if people are going into solitary confinement, are they most of the time actually innocent?
It depends on what you define as innocent, because in either case, like we're kind of mentioning, it's like both systems are prone to corruption. Whereas, like in my system, it's like if the evidence does come out in like through the course of like their natural age, then you're at least like they're able to get some sort of like life back, even though I admit like them losing their life to a crime they didn't commit, even like imprisoning, etc., that itself is a tragedy. I get that, but at least they're still alive. Whereas in the opposite outcome, they're dead, and it's like can't really do anything. There's no amount of money that like. I mean, it's like dealing with the families. Like that's why I can understand, and I respect to Emma for in terms of like the clemency and saying it's like, yeah, like in terms of that, like that's the exception. You know what I mean? So that there even is that whole aspect to it as well. But that's why it's like even like it's like cross political lines. I'd even argue like this is a contentious issue.
There are different ways of looking at it and getting like or trying to get answers for it.
I think the thing that you're going to have to work around, and Tareyak, if this is this your actual this is going to be your actual stance for the time forward, right? Is like you don't want the death penalty, right?
Yeah, like if I was like made dictator for a day, or like king, or whatever system was in place, or if there is like the deep state, if I was head of the deep state, that would be the principle where it's like we don't do the execution, because it's like the way I'd imagine like the world police is like they show up and it's like we have like little kind of like dwarf women with like I call them marshmallow guns, where like they shoot the marshmallow at them and then all of a sudden they're just like they're kind of incapacitated. You know what I mean?
All right. Well,
I got
so
a lot of ideas, folks. That's what I'm saying.
I think the like whenever you kind of sum everything down and simmer it down to where it's just like a little base, like you get back to the base of it, right? You're going to have to deal with people coming at you saying things like, well, if you're saying an objective morality, you do realize that the quote unquote objective reality is subjective based off of the social construct you're in. And so every social construct will have a different objective morality. And what stops people from going to wars when their objective moralities are being infringed upon, or they think they're being infringed upon? I.e., what if the largest superpower in the world, let's say America, had the population that China currently has, and America decided that we are the world's moral compass, right? And so if they don't adhere to our morals, we're going to go in and delete them all. We're going to go and kill them all, right? So I think you're going to have to kind of uh, bridge the gap somewhere, or think up some more framework for your argumentation on that side, because that's going to be really hard to refute.
So, our big boss, old man. I don't mean that insult. Like I
I'm
mean
not
that as
actually that
mild.
old. I'm only 45.
I'm 34, so like 11 years between
Fucking
us.
youngsters.
He's
Add a
both look
nine, and we
60 to
could
me.
cause a disaster.
Fuck it,
So,
I'll play into it.
um,
I'm old, whatever.
yeah. Like I just trying to cheer you up, but I honestly want to ask, right? Like, so are you expecting an honest response, or did you just honestly want to tell them? And it's not an assault on you, because I want to ask them a real question.
Oh, go for it. I'm kind of trying to offer them some thoughts on their own, like where they're coming from, so that they can try and build a better argument. Because what they did tonight was great, but I know that they're gonna involve with other people that are way more contentious. Both of these guys are very friendly with each other. So I know that when they get into an oppositional stance with somebody who's not friendly with them, it's going to be way rougher on them. And so I'm just trying to give them some more like cues to try and fight on for later on, you know?
Yeah, he's just trying to build the argument up, and I understand. Like I got his idea. I just will need to hear
Yeah.
the full statement, because I understand where he's coming from, but I think I do have an answer for it. So it's just the way it is. Um, Easy. I will have to go in about 10 minutes. Just letting you know, I have a
Okay.
call to take, but yeah.
So if
Just letting you know.
if there's anybody that has like a question specifically for Emmett's side, Emmett's on for the death penalty. If anyone has like a question specifically for Emmett's side, let you go now so that Emmett can answer you before he goes.
Sadly, if I can ask, I didn't get to watch the whole thing. Kind of came in towards the end. My only question for those in favor of the death penalty, I was on Verbal Combat a week or so ago, fumbling with this. To what extent are you okay using the death penalty? I know that was probably answered early on, but I find that it's really easy to find even minor crimes where it would be, convenient, right, to say, man, couldn't we have less of these people, right? So, where do you draw the line between using the death penalty as a form of justice and a matter of convenience? Because we've seen, states do this where they unalive people for their convenience, right? So, having that legal avenue in place, how would you deal with that?
Well, I set it up as the most heinous acts, that are completely put up by society like unacceptable, and they have to be taken out, or those that are done in a way that it's going to affect the capacity of the state to function. So, for example, if there is a case that they are attacking, and there's a like terrorist or a T organization that is gonna affect the government or is trying to attack Congress, the Congress people or anybody like that, I would say that those people are also usually involved in between the ones that would take that. So it's not like I steal a little bit of bread and that's it. You go to the block. It's more of actual heinous crimes and those that are
Right.
those that are considered to be completely against the state, right?
So Cleaner, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I do remember at least your take on the trans issue being that you kind of see this as something we need to we need to go against it essentially. Again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I'll let you defend this position. But say in the case we see that there is an ideology that we find needs to be eliminated. I know we can reserve these sorts of punishments for heinous crimes, but let's say we have a group of people with their subjective morality that say, yeah, I mean, let's go and let's take these people out. Let's round them up. Let's have a legal avenue to have them killed. What would your defense be to taking the extremes and saying, hey, like, because I mean there are people who really do. I don't think so much in America, but there are people who want to use the death penalty to take out their opponents.
If this is
Well, that's based off your moral claim.
if this is for Cleaner, I don't think he will do any of that. If in my worldview they are mentally ill people that deserve to actually get treatment, and it's a completely different thing from being from doing an action that is so heinous that they need to be removed in the way of justice. They need to be in
Sure.
mental hospitals, but it's a completely different thing. It's there is no way that I can that it ties into justice.
Yeah, like it's kind of like medical because it's like
therein
the
line
whole
is the issue.
the
It's an issue.
it's like
It's an issue of morals.
Yeah,
but the
it is.
presupposition behind the
It's a
law.
moral issue.
But the
Sorry, go ahead.
presupposition behind the law is that it's like the individual is
Yes,
morally
because
accountable for their actions.
Hold up.
If they've got a mental
just a
illness,
sec, Graham. Let Tareyak finish there, and then go ahead. Just let Tareyak
if they've
finish.
got if they've got any
Sure.
sort of like mental illness, they're not really responsible for their actions because it's like they're out of their mind. You know what I mean? So in terms of like that, things like they need help for that. And I'm not talking about like they took a drug and then they're out of mind. I'm talking like literally like them like without like sober, like they're out of their mind kind of thing. So in terms of that aspect, it's a different situation. That's why it's like you need prisons and mental institutions. Make mental institutions great again. That's what I say. But be right back. I didn't take piss.
Yeah, I agree with
That's
Tareyak
really
there.
fascinating. Yeah, that's actually just fascinating.
I think that even within society, we already have a certain construct for redemption. So I think that like these people that are of the trans ideology, they're not approaching rational realism. And to get them back to it, you would section them off. And yes, I would say if they're committing heinous crimes, then they would fall under the heinous crime laws, right? That we have within our society based off of our Christian morals. But if they're not committing heinous crimes, then we would try and section them off and depropagandize what it is that they're trying to propagandize. So basically, because the majority of our society is based around Christian ethics and Christian morals, I would say it would be within our right and our reasonable understanding to section people off that do not adhere to that and give them the opportunity to redeem themselves in our societal construct's eyes. So in our society's eyes, if they've not gone against, laws already and we don't have to put them in prison. So maybe a mental institution, maybe they're, just having a therapist. I don't know the extent. It depends on how far they are, right? Someone else would have to evaluate that with more experience and understanding than me.
I will say it's somewhat relieving to hear this because I just don't have that For who can remember it, I mean, I was basically like, dude, let's have these fucking aggressive drivers put to death. I honestly, guys, I don't have the fucking self-control. So that's why I sort of opt out of the death penalty, because I'm like, look, I can't control myself, because if I was given the power to decide who lived or died, oh boy, holy shit, like,
At least you're
you
honest.
I get
start to
that.
think, right? So
Emmett,
it's not even really like, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were done. Emmett,
Yeah.
just I guess one more question for you before you head out. You said you were looking at it through the Christian worldview,
Yeah.
partly with this, right? So, what would you say to Christians that they recognize the state's right to carry out justice up to execution, but they don't call for it, right? And the reason they don't call for it is because part of their worldview would be to give priest counseling to these people in an attempt to get them to repent before they meet their maker.
Sorry, real quick. Gio just says, cleaner. That was pure excellence. Well said, brother in Christ. Thank you, Gio.
I don't like. You can do both, no? You can give them counseling and still carry out justice. I don't see that.
Well, right, but they might argue that ending the life ends the opportunity to potentially have that.
No, you can give them.
And if the ultimate goal, no, I mean the ultimate goal being for everyone to repent before, passing on.
I will say this: everyone is on a timer, right? You still, even if you're outside, you have never committed a crime. You're still on a timer. You have a certain amount of time allotted to you on this earth, and you don't even know how much it is. And maybe you can go ahead and somebody's going to come to you and it's going to take you closer to Jesus Christ tomorrow. Maybe not. You don't really know. But when you have something that's hanging up on your head because it is the truth that's going to happen to you, maybe that's actually what you need to get closer instead of being in this state of mind that you never know when is. You need to take actions over your life. So I would say that it's not exclusive, and I think you can still go to them and try to teach them with the amount of time that they have, because at the end of the day, you never know when it's going to be your last breath.
But wouldn't taking that action remove
question.
all opportunity, future opportunity?
No, you're
Which
giving
would go
them the
against that?
opportunity. They have the right to.
Exactly.
They have.
Well,
the
you're giving
right
the
to
opportunity,
accept it or not.
but I mean, you not everyone
How many
comes to Christ in
opportunities
the
are you
same
gonna
speed.
give them? Like, you're gonna give them the opportunity, they will take it or not. But you're not gonna.
Well, is
You're
that for
gonna
us to
force them
say?
into opportunities. I was like, no.
Is that for us to say?
In this case, it is because we have a duty, right?
Mm-hmm. If I just
Exactly.
if I may interject briefly,
Just a
Emmett-
sec, Gio.
Yeah,
I think
remember.
Graham was trying to get in on what they were saying, and then after Graham, you go ahead.
No problem.
Graham?
Well, I'm just trying to explain that you have a duty
go
to
ahead.
humanity. Okay, your morals may not be equal to somebody else's morals. So in that context, there's no way that you can be for the death penalty. You can be to lock them up for life. That's one thing. But you can separate them from society. Again, that's one thing. But there's no way that you can introduce a death penalty. The reasoning behind what I'm saying is that your morals may not equal the morals of the powers that be.
Do I have to
And
take into
you have to
account?
understand that.
Do I have to take into
Go
account
on.
everybody's morals? Do I have to take into account everybody's morals?
Yes,
So if a person
because
thinks
that's how society works.
if a person thinks that it's
That's how
completely,
society works.
if I have a person that thinks that it's moral because the utility of deleting a lot of babies would get us to cure cancer, do I have to accept that?
You have to accept the morals of society, sir.
That was not the question. Can you answer my question?
Well, he already conceded. He said you have to accept the
I think I
morals of
did.
society, which refutes his claim that you have to accept the moralities of the person that did the crime.
But do you?
And
Do
see,
you have to accept the morals of society?
that
Just
was kind of the summing of why I asked: is it personal or societal? Is justice personal or societal? Because in a society, justice should be societal. It should be based upon you breaking a society's rules, not a personal person's rules, because
Correct.
personal people may just have preferences and say, well, I feel like he should have a death penalty because he cheated on me with some girl. Well, great. But
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
that isn't what society holds true. So, and
Right.
this is what he's getting at, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is,
Exactly.
especially when it comes to Tareyak, I think both of us believe that there is actual morality. Like, we believe that there is grounding in morality and there is objective truth and morality when it comes to that. So there is no reason for me to adhere to preferences of a specific person. It's more of a what is true and what we should do. That would be the counter to that as well.
My general thought on this, Claire, this is something I think I tried to mention last time I was on here, was like with personal like witness or victim impact statements and stuff. I do think that we should have set minimums, but then a little bit of flexibility built in as well. So, like I do agree, Cleaner. You know, you can't just in your personal statement say, well, you know, I want the death penalty on this person because they cut me off, you know, and ruined my car. Fuck them, you know. It's not gonna work, right? But I also think that, you know, if a person makes a decent and compelling case and you know, is saying, hey, I want the max damages allowable here. You know, I use this car to drive my kids to work or you know from work, pick them up from school. You get the whole gist. So I think there should be some element of flexibility beyond the minimum. Would you guys agree that there should be at least a minimum sentence and then some room for additional justice, you know, supplemental justice, personal justice, less than societal justice?
I'm not. I'm
We
not.
kind of already have all three elements.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. To be fair, I'm really have to
Yeah.
leave like in a minute. Do you have anything you would like to say, Jovers, before I leave?
Well, I was gonna piggyback on most of your argument, and I was gonna say that I haven't seen you tonight, but I have seen you previously. I look forward to seeing more of your content based on the response. I hear you did a pretty good job. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. And Cleaner, I'll invite you on during the week so that we can
Sure.
have the conversation and we can go a little bit further. This is what I said. I don't have like the whole time easy. I know we have time, but I needed to
Yeah,
leave.
no,
So
no worries. That's totally fair. That's totally fair.
so
Thanks,
Let
Emmett.
everyone know where we can find you.
you can find me at the name of the channel is Count Emmet at Count Emmet. You can find me there. I am streaming right now. I'll probably end this stream. I might be come out a little bit later. I do. I don't do like much open panels. I've been doing a lot of art. I have to do like pixel art because I'm working on a game with Spiro, and I'm gonna be doing probably tomorrow at game night, and then on Saturdays starting 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, I do forced karaoke. It can be any song. You send me $5 and I'll sing it. If you find the song, the one song I will never sing, you win $50 and I will end my stream because I won't sing that song. So
Nice.
but you at least get the $50 if you find it. I won't give you much of a reason of what the song is because why would I? But I mean, you can always get
Baby
it.
got back.
Yeah, that just gives
There's
it
no
away. You
way.
can't do that.
There's no way. So thank you so much to Speakeasy, to Tareyak. Tareyak did a great debate. I think he was a great opponent. To the people on panel,
Appreciate you.
and I really I hope we can have more debates of this type. And I think it was a really awesome debate. Thank you so much.
Facts.
And I really like
facts.
the tie choice as well.
I think it was a great debate as
Thank you.
well. Everyone in the chat, make sure you go sub up to Emmett. Thank you for coming, Emmett. And yeah, I look forward to more debates in the future.
So thank you so much. Have a great one. Let me go ahead, get him here real quick just to finish up my stream real fast. Give me just 1 second so I can get this going. This is so annoying. Always annoying. Yeah. Alright. I hope some people want to have like the animated pixel art. That would be fun. I thought it gets well. I want to say thank you for all the people that were on chat. I don't know how many are still here, but thank you all for being here. Voltaire, thanks so much for the yeah, for your contribution in chat and your contribution over there. I saw it. It was pretty awesome. I hope you enjoyed the debate. I really I'm not gonna say that I did a super deep ultra dive into every single part of it, but I did formulate the argument. I've been formulating this argument for a while, and I think I did a really good job on the argument itself. I think it refutes a little bit of the usual ways that they attack it, especially when it comes to like the moral claims of what if a person is innocent, what if a person is X, what if a person is Y. And it goes away from utilitarianism, which is a big problem when we're having this kind of debates. I do have to leave, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream now. I will say to Marcus Antonius, thank you so much for the 5. You that was incredible. I will, if when I see you in chat, I will go ahead and commend you. That was it helps a lot. So yeah, those 5 bucks that I got are really helpful. I'll be back maybe later tonight. I have some stuff to do. I want to change. Even though I look amazing. Not necessarily look amazing, but even though I look good, I do need to take a breather and to get a little bit off my debate tactic and idea and just come back, because even though I'm calm on the outside and the way I talk, I am extremely nervous and I do get like super I just want to eat. I just want to eat something. I just want to bite something. Next time you're singing HH by Yi, that would be the last song, but I will do it. Like, I would absolutely do it, but it has to be the last song of the stream. So just letting you know, because it cannot be sang very deeper, very suave. I think the debate went really well. In general, I was able to like go into the different frameworks so that we can have a different of discussion, which is kind of complicated. He Cleaner did call out the slippery slope fallacy. It's not a fallacy because I don't think it is false, but I have to talk to him about it, and he will probably come with a better understanding and a better idea of the whole thing. So I need to be able to get it done. Thank you, Abe. I hope it went really well. Even if it wasn't like the spurgy debate that a lot of people like, it was a very good conversation-ish. Like, the debate was a conversation. We both were really generous with the other. I was expecting him to be a lot more... I wouldn't say... I think he was going to interrupt me a lot more. But he was actually pretty nice about it. Like, we let each other speak. We let each other finish our thoughts and points. And we were really, like, going through the motions of the different ideas. There was a couple of times that I thought he was being a little bit... not necessarily bad faith, but he was trying to confuse me. But it's maybe the way he thinks, right? He thinks like in 3 different ways, and then he makes a point that is kind of cohesive. And sometimes I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? But it's not he wasn't trying to actually do something like that. I'm looking at my chat instead of looking at my chat, you know? I can just look at my chat here. Why am I looking at it there? Oh, this is so much better. More debates should go this way. I think so. I don't think we're gonna see more debates. Like there's some debates that are gonna be way harder than this one. But yeah, this debate is like, this one's a really good one. Oh my god. I might be on later today. Even if I didn't get like much views or anything, I wanted to have these in video form so that I just have it. I want to share my last thoughts of the debate with you all. And I want to wish you like a good night if I don't see you, and if not, and I'll be seeing you guys soon. I need to leave and do some stuff on my own. So thank you so much for the time and all that. And all of that, right? It's like, thank you so much for all of it. Just thank you so much for all of it. Just thank you so much. I also wouldn't change. No. There we go. Yeah, God bless you all. I really... The moment... Hey, when I was like completely quiet on your stream yesterday, I was just finishing like the whole idea for my debate. I did see like the chat in Easy's, and it went well for me overall.